An entitled Karen tried to fight me at the movie theater after I asked her kid to please stop going on his phone during the movie. Things got so bad that I literally lost my mind, looked at this entitled Karen and her husband, and said that they were absolute failures as parents, which resulted in this lady literally squaring up at me, ready to fight me, all because I told the truth. Here's how it all went down. Okay, so this happened to me this weekend. My partner and I went to a late night movie on the first date night that we've had in months, and we have a 2-year-old toddler, so getting time can be really difficult. During the film, this teenage kid in front of us literally lifts up his phone and starts taking pictures of the screen and posting them on Instagram. Now, I let this slide 3 times before gently nudging his seat and asking him not to do that. Well, he turns around with the most annoyed and surprised look on his face, as if he'd never heard the word no before in his life. He then tells me to get lost in a not so nice way, if you know what I mean, saying that I should watch the movie and stop bothering him. But despite this, he still puts his phone down, and I think it's all sorted out. Well, lo and behold, 2 minutes later, he does it again, except now he's lifting his phone higher and seemingly trying to get it even more in my face. So I lean over again and I ask him to stop doing it, or else I'm gonna go out there and get the staff. But again, he tells me to get lost. But now his mother decides to interject loudly, telling me to mind my own business and that I shouldn't tell her kid what to do. I then repeat asking if she'd like me to get the staff, and she then swears at me and says, "Oh, go ahead and do it." Now, half the cinema is staring at this point, so you know what? I get up and I get a staff member. While I'm gone, this lady turns around and stares my partner down for over a minute, pointing the fingers at her and just being a general jerk. I return with a staff member who takes the mother outside for around 10 minutes, and about 5 minutes into that, the husband goes out to join the conversation. Eventually, they come back and lean over to tell the kid not to go on his phone anymore. The kid then loudly exclaims, "Stupid idiots!" and I just sigh and try to enjoy the film. He then spends the rest of the film endlessly fidgeting and moving his hands around as high as possible. It's not ideal, but it's a lot better than watching this kid's Instagram feed. At the end of the film, as they go to leave, they turn around and stare me down, so I respond by saying, "You need to learn some respect." Well, the kid starts grabbing at his private parts, if you know what I mean. He's making faces and being a little weirdo. And at this point, I just kind of laugh and I tell them to grow up and get lost. Well, as we're leaving, we pass them in the hall, and one of them mutters, "Oh, you're so mature." And at this point, I'm just done with it. So I turn to the mother and I say, "You are an absolute failure as a parent. You should be ashamed of yourself." Well, naturally, this doesn't sit well with her, and she starts losing her absolute mind. She steps into me, you know, a 6'2" man, screaming in my face that I should get lost and mind my own business, that I have no right to tell her kids what to do. I then just reply that she's clearly incapable, so someone needs to do it, and if she isn't gonna tell them, then I will gladly do it myself. Well, when I say this flips her switch even further, and now she's literally trying to fight me, telling me that I have no right. And I'm like, "Lady, what are you gonna do about it?" And when I say this, she copies me back. "What are you gonna do about it, huh? You gonna hit me?" And at this point, I just laugh at her face and I tell her no, because I'm not pathetic. At this point, her husband steps in holding her back, yelling at me by saying, "Why are you attacking my kids, bro?" But I just repeat and say, "Well, you're failures as parents. As one parent to another, you absolutely disgust me. You need to stop acting like children and grow up." Well, at this point, everyone in the hallway is staring at us. This entitled Karen is screaming, the husband is holding her back and yelling how I'm such a loser for attacking their kids. So my partner and I just turn and leave. Now, I will admit I threw back a few curses of my own on the way out, which is probably not the best of me, but at that point, I was just so done. As a result, the date night ended on a bit of a low note, but I walked away happy, knowing that those sorts of people will inevitably get themselves in more trouble than they can ever deal with. Okay, I'm gonna say this as honestly as I can. The original poster is my hero. If I had $1 for every time I've wanted to say this to parents who clearly just don't give a crap about what their kids are doing, bro, I would be a literal millionaire. There are so many people out there that are just like, "Oh, I don't care what my kids are doing. They can do whatever they want, but if you correct them, then you're the bad guy." Like, dude, your kid is literally like flashing the screen with their phone. What is going on right now? This is not appropriate behavior. The original poster wasn't rude. They didn't say anything wrong. They literally just asked politely, "Hey, can you put your phone down? It's getting in the way." "Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it." Like, that's it. That's all they said. They didn't say anything offensive or rude or weird at all. And the fact that their kid had the audacity to start swearing at them, and yes, by the way, they were swearing like crazy. I mean, I definitely replaced some of those words because holy crap, that kid's got a mouth on him. And like that in and of itself, the fact that he feels so emboldened to talk to adults like that is proof right then and there that yeah, these parents suck. And for this spoiled brat to do it in front of their parents, like dude, if I did that, my dad or my mom would have smacked me in the mouth and been like, "Don't ever do that again." So yeah, this is absolutely just glorious. I'm so happy I found this story. This is so fun for me because some people really do need to have a reality check like this, especially when it comes to how they're raising their kids. Because I guarantee you, this kid's gonna turn out to be just like his mom and dad, super entitled and incredibly annoying. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Am I the jerk for calling my brother-in-law a scumbag for trying to steal money from me? Because right now, his parents are demanding that I apologize to them. And at this point, I just don't know what to do. Here's how it all went down. Okay, so recently, I bought a business from my brother-in-law. Looking back, I probably shouldn't have. I mean, his asking price was absurd. But I negotiated it down after apologizing for calling it absurd. I even paid him more upfront than he asked for, with the rest coming from profits. And less than a month later, it was paid in full. Now, the problem is that it took him forever to transfer the credit deposits into my name, which by the way is his responsibility. During that time, money from the business was going into his bank account. I figured once it was all fixed, I'd just get the money from him and deposit it into my account, but boy was I wrong. For weeks, I kept working with him to transferring everything, but he would just give me vague responses like saying, oh yeah, the money's there. With an anniversary trip coming up and expenses due, I asked him to drop the money at my wife's office. Well, he ignored the text message, but eventually dropped some of it off. When I got the money, I found out that he kept most of it for interest and for backstock, which most of it was unusable. I then got angry and I called him a scumbag piece of crap. When I said this, he ran to his mother and father, who then demanded I apologize to them for insulting their son. They told me I'm no longer welcome in their home because, in their words, you don't do that to family, and they said they are done with me. So seriously, am I the jerk for what I said? Because this all seems incredibly crazy. Dude, it is so ironic to me that they're trying to be like, oh wow, you said something mean to my son. You don't do that to family. You're banned from the house. But like in that same vein of thought, he's literally been stealing money from you for how long? Like a few months now? I'm pretty sure that's a bigger deal than saying something mean to a family member. Like, what's going on right now? This is so stupid. So they literally are trying to be like, oh yeah, stealing's fine, but insulting our precious boy? Absolutely not. Like, this almost sounds like it would be a police matter, and I certainly am not qualified to make that call. But if someone's honestly dragging their feet on getting me the funds for a business I bought from them, then yeah, I'd be pretty pissed off and be like, okay, you can either fix this, or I can take this to the next level, which I guarantee that you just definitely don't want to have to deal with. So no, you're not the jerk for calling this guy a scumbag piece of crap, because honestly, based on the way he's acting and the way his parents probably coddle him and like protect him as much as possible, in my opinion proves that he's super immature and honestly is in need of correcting, because this behavior is not only borderline illegal but also incredibly toxic. Am I the jerk for refusing to tone down my wedding dress, all because my sister feels that I'm going to be overshadowing her in my own wedding photos? Because right now my mom's saying that I should compromise for peace, even though I don't feel like I should change my dress simply because of my sister's insecurities. Here's what's happening. I'm a 27-year-old female and I'm getting married next spring, and my 25-year-old sister is my maid of honor. To put it plainly, she's been struggling with body image and I've been nothing but supportive. Well, last week she asked to see my dress, and when I showed her, she went quiet and then said it was too revealing, and she was referencing the fact that my dress had a low back. She then asked if I would pick something less attention-grabbing because she doesn't want to be overshadowed in the photos. I told her gently that the wedding dress is about me and not her, and that I'm not changing it. But when I said that, she cried and said that I'm prioritizing vanity over her feelings. And now she's threatening to not even be in the bridal party. My fiance thinks that she's being unreasonable, but my mom says that I should compromise for peace. So am I the jerk for refusing to alter my dress for her insecurity? Because right now this seems incredibly crazy. Oh my gosh, your sister's so dumb. Are you kidding me right now? Like seriously, this is so stupid. First of all, of course you're not the jerk, because guess what? This is your wedding. Of course you're going to be overshadowing your sister. You're supposed to be the center of attention here. It's supposed to be attention grabbing, and it should be like the main thing people are looking at. She's just the maid of honor, dude. Like, what's going on? How can she seriously be offended by this and be like, wow, you're pulling attention away from me at your wedding? Like, yeah, that's kind of the point, lady. Like, what are you talking about? You're not the main character of this wedding because you're not getting married today. That's me. I'm the main character here. So no, in my opinion, you absolutely should not compromise for peace. Like, screw that. Your mom's wrong. If she wants to act like a weirdo, then congratulations. Just don't be my bridal party and I'm still gonna get married, no problem. Because what they're asking is so dumb and completely uncalled for. Today, I got some petty revenge on an entitled jerk after he stole the last spot at a charging station that I desperately needed for my electric car. Here's how I did it. To start things out, my city has charger ports for electric cars in public lots. I can't install a charger for my car at my apartment building, so I rely on these public chargers for a hybrid car. When the program started, the parking spots had signs that read electric vehicles only, because if a gas-powered car takes the spot, the charger can't be used as the cords just don't go any further. Most cars blocking the spots could be reported to the police for towing. But certain entitled drivers of electric cars decided that these are their own personal parking spots pretty much no matter what. They wouldn't actually plug in to charge. I mean, they didn't even need the free electricity. They just think their car being electric gives them the equivalent of a handicap placard for a nicer spot. There's also no towing them since they obeyed the sign, and their car's electric. And trust me, it's always a Tesla doing this. One morning, I was driving up to a set of charger ports because the app on my phone said that one was free. While waiting at the nearby red light, I could see the spot was just taken and the driver was walking away. This guy wasn't even charging his Tesla, and I wouldn't be able to charge it even if I wanted to. I had no actual recourse to get the guy ticketed or towed like I could with a gas-powered car, so I waited about 20 minutes. Then I called the yoga studio he had walked into, which was right around the point when I figured his session had safely been going on for a while. I said to the woman picking up, "Hey, there's a person in your class that drives a black Tesla. There's a tow truck that's about to hitch the car up for blocking a charging spot. You should probably let them know immediately." And she was immensely grateful, like I'd just done this jerk a huge favor. Shortly after he came barreling out of the studio and around the corner to save his car, he saw that it was obviously fine. I then took pride knowing that I'd not only thrown off his yoga session, but that he was also responsible for interrupting the class for everyone else, and that they would all silently judge him in the process. And you know what? Sometimes when I need a pick-me-up, I like to think about how he went back to yoga, fuming that someone was screwing with him. Ever since then, the city realized that these drivers ruin things for everybody else, and they replace all the signs to say that electric vehicles are only allowed while they're charging. It's not the same joy as ruining yoga, but now I can just call the cops and get them ticketed for my petty revenge, which is something I do every single time I get the chance. Okay, I've got to be honest, and please, someone illuminate this in the comment section. Why are Tesla drivers always the worst on the road? I'm not trying to make sweeping assumptions, but dude, this happens way too much. I've read so many stories about Tesla drivers doing crap like this. Like, come on, man. You're making the good Tesla owners look bad, dude. Like, come on. So personally, I love this story, and I love the fact that you got back at this guy, because yeah, he absolutely should not have been parking there, as he literally was just getting in the way of what you were trying to do. Am I the jerk for putting our health before our tenant's honor? All because we decided to wear a mask and put on gloves when we came to visit his apartment. But despite the fact that our tenant is a good friend of mine, we still felt like the place was absolutely disgusting, and we definitely did not want to get sick in his pigsty, even if it somehow ended up offending him. Here's what happened. To start things out, I'm a 26-year-old male, and about 3 weeks ago, I went with my girlfriend, who I'll call Lisa for the sake of the story, over to our rental apartment to see our tenants because we have some renovations planned and we wanted to get an overview. In fact, we had an appointment for this specific thing. Now, beyond that, Lisa wanted to see the apartment from the inside anyways, since the tenant, an old good friend of mine, has been getting into more and more trouble. He was never the cleanest person, but we had heard that the apartment was increasingly turning into a hoarder's den. Now, when we arrived, she was immediately surprised because it smelled strongly of formaldehyde. We then found out the tenant and his dad were just setting up a very cheap cabinet that was clearly stocked full of some kind of solvents. Now, what many people might not know about this is that there are limit values for harmful solvents in furniture within the European Union, but there are none for goods imported from non-European Union countries. Lisa knows that most people here will think that if it were harmful, it wouldn't be allowed to be sold in Germany, but that is simply not the case. So this isn't about the normal smell of new cheap cabinets, because this smelled worse than a medical school anatomy course. Since we had to stay in the apartment for a while, she decided to drive home quickly to get a mask that protects against such fumes. We then took the cabinet apart together because we had offered my former friend to buy a different one. We ourselves pay attention to maximum health compatibility with everything, and before we have months of fumes in our apartment, we would rather buy him a new one. Among other things, we also wanted to pick up a TV that I wanted to buy from him. In the meantime, or rather before taking apart the cabinet, Lisa had also put on yellow cleaning gloves because she simply finds him disgusting, and honestly she always has. And then, last but not least, she found an old dried up booger on the TV. Since she knows exactly what he watches on that TV besides normal movies, the decision to put on cleaning gloves was clear for her from the beginning. Well, when my friend saw this, he got massively upset about her outfit. He felt disrespected and then suddenly started an argument. When it comes to the mask, there's no discussion for me. We can argue about the gloves, but I think others would have kicked him out a long time ago. Nevertheless, I understand that it humiliates him that people from a completely different social class appear so provocatively in his space and practically protect themselves from things that are part of his daily life. I would also feel like crap if someone wanted to protect themselves from my furniture. So honestly, are we the jerks here? Because honestly, Lisa and I put our health and well-being before his honor, even though that probably humiliated him in some kind of way, but honestly, we're just trying to look out for ourselves. What should we do? Okay, from the sounds of it, it seems like the original poster is putting it nicely by saying that, yeah, the apartment was a pigsty, and this guy is clearly like disgusting in some kind of way. So in my opinion, the instinct to put on a mask and gloves is completely justified. This guy doesn't sound like a good tenant at all. So I don't blame you guys for keeping yourselves protected, because from the sounds of it, this guy does not seem very clean at all. My entitled neighbor ran his garbage disposal every single night at 2 o'clock in the morning and at 6 o'clock sharp. And despite the fact that I tried to be a polite neighbor and asked them to please shut up, they decided to double down and be even louder, forcing me to get revenge against these people in a way they will never forget. Because once they went quiet after I decided to be way louder than they've ever been, I think the message finally came through that no, they can't make that kind of noise and not expect me to answer back, but even worse. Here's how I did it. Okay, so I moved into this apartment a few months back, and it's been pretty sweet for the most part. It's a quiet building and it has a decent location, but then about a month ago, a new tenant moved in right above me. Things were okay for a bit, but then this nightly thing started. Every single night, and I mean every single night, without fail at around 2 o'clock in the morning, and then again at 6 o'clock in the morning, they would start running their garbage disposal. And man, this thing sounded like a rock crusher trying to chew up a whole brick. It was loud enough to violently yank me out of my dead sleep every single time. But after a week of feeling like a zombie, I decided to be the polite, reasonable neighbor. I wrote a super friendly note, something that said, "Hey neighbor, welcome to the building. Just wanted to let you know your garbage disposal is pretty loud down here, especially in the late to early morning. Would you mind being a little more mindful with the noise?" I then taped it to their door and I felt pretty good about it. Now you might be wondering, did it work? Well, of course not. Not only did it not work, but a couple of nights later, it actually seemed louder than before, almost as if they were trying to make a point. And that's when I decided polite was absolutely overrated. I then decided to go online. I bought a small but powerful Bluetooth speaker, and I found the most ear-splitting, grating garbage disposal sound effect that I could find. And I'm talking seriously horrible, like actually dying machinery kind of noise. That night at around 3 o'clock in the morning, and I picked that time just to be extra petty, especially since they just did that to me about an hour prior, I waited for the building to go totally silent. Then I grabbed the speaker, found the spot on my ceiling directly under what I guess was their bedroom, and I taped that sucker right up there. I then hit play from my phone with the volume maxed out, and it was gloriously, horribly loud. The kind of sound that makes the whole floor vibrate. I then let it run for about 10 minutes, just enjoying the sweet sound of industrial grinding. Then I stopped it, left the speaker up, and repeated the process for the next 3 nights, always hitting exactly around 3 o'clock in the morning. It's one of those things that was just enough to be annoying without being a full-on war, and also hopefully making them wonder where in the world that noise was coming from. But magically, after the 4th night, the 2 o'clock in the morning and 6 o'clock in the morning garbage disposal ritual that my upstairs neighbors were clearly doing just completely stopped. It's been over a week now, and I haven't heard a peep from their disposal outside of normal daytime hours. They thought they had the right to make noise whenever they wanted, but it turns out so did I, and trust me, I did it much better than they did. Oh man, this is one of those stories that I wish I had the guts to do this, because knowing my luck, they would come down to like the front door and start screaming at me. And that's more than enough for me to have an anxiety attack, holy crap. Even the thought of that would be like, oh man, I don't want to do this, I regret this so much. I'm not brave enough to make this kind of like drastic decision. So to live vicariously through the original poster here is really satisfying, because the upstairs neighbor in this story absolutely deserved it. My girlfriend was brought home by her ex-boyfriend instead of the friend that she went out to party with. And now because of that, I honestly have so many questions and I seriously just don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so my girlfriend went out last night downtown drinking with her friend, and I thought nothing of it and was happy they were going out. I even dropped them off down there myself. I made it very, very clear that if anything happened, anything at all, please just call me. I had work early the next morning, but I made it clear it doesn't bother me because God forbid something happened to them. I was only 10 minutes away and the lack of sleep doesn't faze me. After dropping them off, I went home and I texted her, "Be safe and I love you." Well, she never responded, but I just kind of shrugged it off, and I went to bed figuring that they were partying or something like that. Well, I woke up to use the bathroom at 3 o'clock in the morning, but she still wasn't home. And that was strange because even when we go out, we're yawning at like midnight, and we're home by 1 o'clock at the latest. I didn't think too hard on it, but out of curiosity, I checked the Life 360 app, and she was just up our street, parked somewhere for about 30 minutes. My head then started spinning with a million questions, wondering why in the world she was up there. I then threw some clothes on and ran out the door and drove up. I then pulled up next to a car with my girlfriend and her ex. And this was her ex that she was with on and off for just over a year. I went from 0 to 100 instantly. I jumped out of my car and I yelled at them to get out. I was furious, and he insisted that nothing happened and he was just bringing her home. She stood there crying, saying her friend was roofied, and said that luckily he was there to bring her home. However, her friend's roommate picked her up and offered my girlfriend a ride home, to which she refused. I then drove her home and she insisted she saw a familiar face and he was just getting off of work at a downtown bar. But it's like, well, why didn't you call or text me at all, like even once? So seriously, am I overreacting here? Am I looking too deep into this? Is there something else going on? We are going to talk about this tonight since she was still tipsy last night, but I really have faith that nothing happened, but my trust is completely damaged. And at this point, I seriously just don't know what to do. Okay, I gotta be completely honest. It is a big red flag that for 30 minutes, she was spending time with her ex-boyfriend in the car down the road. Not to mention the fact that she was coming in at 3 o'clock. Like, that sounds incredibly sketchy if you ask me. And no, you can't be sure that she actually did anything wrong, but like, why on earth is she not texting you? She's not even like responding to any of your messages. And why is she sitting in the car like down the road from your house with her ex-boyfriend that she's not dating anymore? Like, if I was in your shoes, I'd be pissed off as well. Like, where have you been? You haven't been responding to anything. So in my opinion, the only reason she would actually be crying is because, oh man, I got caught in the act and now I'm gonna lose my relationship. Because from my point of view, it does kind of look like something may have happened. And if something did happen, then that is an absolute tragedy because she's the one that did that and not you. My entitled mother tries to force my barber to shave my beard off that I've spent weeks growing out, all without me knowing, simply because she didn't like it. And when I found out, I was absolutely furious. Here's what happened. This story happened in high school when I finally was able to grow a decent enough beard. I loved it and it made me feel more powerful and confident. On the contrary, my mom hated it though. Anytime I would talk to her, she was always bringing up how I should just get rid of it. She would say stuff like, "You are so much more handsome clean shaven. You just really let yourself go." She would also make snide remarks saying stuff like, "You look homeless. Did you even take a shower?" Claiming that I look like a hippie. She would even try and rationalize it with me to try and get me to shave it no matter what. She would say stuff like, "You should try a mustache." But I don't want to because I'm happy with my beard. I think the reasoning for my mom acting so weird is because my twin cannot grow facial hair, and he is my mom's favorite, so me having a beard is kind of upstaging him. She would say stuff like, "Please just shave. It's making him self-conscious at school." And I would always refuse and just say, "No way, I'm not doing that." She would then say, "You're so rude. Just do this one thing for him." And I'm thinking to myself, I do enough for him already. What are you talking about? She then comes back at me by saying, "Whatever. I want you shaving for graduation and when you get a job." And conversations like this happen over and over again. On the same day that that conversation happened, while at dinner, I told my dad what she told me and he was upset. My dad likes me more than my brother because I'm less whiny and I'm more athletic. And he thinks that a man's first beard is great. With all that in mind, cut to a few weeks later, and my beard is relatively long and so is my hair. So I decided to go to the barber's for a trim. And when my mom heard this, she got really excited and even offered to drive me there. On the way there, she kept telling me about all the styles to try, like a buzz cut or a side sweep. And those were all hairstyles that she made us have when we were kids. And then she said, "Why don't you try to shave or try a new style with a mustache out there or something?" I looked at her and I said, "No, I am never shaving my beard." But she didn't take me seriously and she just kind of brushed me off. When we get there, strangely enough, I see my grandpa sitting in the barber shop as well. For a little background, my grandfather is a veteran and he believes every boy should be disciplined, join the army, and be clean shaven and have short hair. In fact, in the past, he would come over to the house, hand me a razor, and tell me to shave. Also, when we were younger, he was our barber, so he did what he pleased with our hair, despite what we did or did not want. So we go in, we sit down, and eventually it's my turn to get my haircut. And as I'm sitting down to turn to talk to my barber and tell him what I want done with my hair, my entitled mother flags him over and walks into another room with him just to talk with him in private. And I was so confused. I didn't know what was going on. Eventually, my mom mom and the barber comes out of this back room, and he comes to me and says, "Wow, I never thought you were gonna shave anytime soon." When he said this, I was so confused and shocked. I asked him what he meant, and then he told me that my mom said to him that I wanted to shave my beard and that I wanted to have short hair because I hated it now, apparently, which is absolutely not true. He also said that they tried to bribe him and give him $20 to do it. I was so shocked and speechless that I could not even think straight. I tell him that's not at all what I asked for, and he just laughs and gives me a nice trim, thankfully. When we were done and when we got back in the car, and once my mom found out that I knew she tried to bribe the barber just to try and shave off my beard, she was livid. But I was just as angry, and I shut her down for trying to do something like that to me. And as a result of that conversation, I ended up getting grounded. When we got home, I told my dad what happened, and when mom was confronted, she denied it. And only until I told my dad that I was grounded did she finally fess up to it. And then eventually, the subject just kind of got dropped. Thankfully, I was able to keep my beard, and all these years later, I grow it out and I shave it as much as I like, because it's my facial hair, it's my body, and no one's gonna tell me what I can and cannot do with it. That is really unfair, the way the mom tried to bribe a barber just to try and shave the original poster's beard against their will. Like, what are they gonna do, try and hold him down and get that done? That's ridiculous. Good on the barber for having some integrity and saying, no, I'm definitely not gonna do that, because acting like that is just inappropriate. I really don't think there's anything wrong with trying to grow out your hair and try something new. It's really, really offensive for someone to try and force their will on you, especially when it comes to hair. This original poster obviously had some attachment to his beard, so he's not just gonna go off and start shaving it just because his mom doesn't like it. And I also think it's funny that the mom tried to get the veteran grandfather in on this to try and convince this kid to shave his beard and to continue an appearance that he probably had forced on him ever since he was a kid. So thankfully things worked out, and now they can style their facial hair however they want, whenever they want. I was duped by a scammer, and now I'm afraid my wife is going to leave me. A few years ago, while my wife of 9 years was out of town, I received a text message at 3 in the morning saying, "Hey, I just wanted to let you know that your wife is cheating on you." And this was someone who was claiming to be the wife of the guy that she was apparently cheating with. She said that they were on a break at the time, so she wasn't too upset with him. But once she found out that my wife was married, she wanted to let me know to give me a warning. She said he was a contractor and named several cities nearby that he worked in. This person said that they weren't sure how they met, but that she found my wife's phone number on his Google account, and when she searched it, our names came up. So I searched the number that she had, and lo and behold, our names did in fact come up. I'll say now that my wife and I have had problems over the last couple of years. I love her more than anything. I know she loves me too, but she has admitted that she's not really in love with me, at least not the way she used to be. She's brought up divorce a few times, but I know that's not what either of us really want. We just want to be happy together like we used to be. I know that she needs more from me, and I've been working really hard to show her that I'm the man that she's always dreamed about. My insecurities got the best of me, and I started to wonder if there was any truth to it. I love my wife so much, and I've always trusted her 100%, but hearing all of this was really taking a toll on me. I started shaking and my heart rate jumped, and it stayed this way for the next 12 hours. I continued talking to this woman on the phone, and she was giving me details and dates of when my wife and her husband had met up, as well as places they had been together. I tried to cross-reference the dates between our calendars and my text messages, but because of my wife's job, she often works late and travels out of town. Personally, I have a terrible memory, and in the mental state I was in, I just couldn't make myself sure that it was lies, that all of this was made up. This woman wanted to talk on the phone because she was scared that her husband would find the text messages somehow. I agreed, and then I called her. Now, I've dealt with scammers quite a bit. I have heard of millions of scams and read about them frequently online. I'm always the person that can jump in and say, oh, that sounds like an absolute scam. But this woman sounded totally normal, and it felt like she could be local to my area. We talked for about 20 minutes, and she sounded concerned and gave me more details, but nothing that I could 100% confirm. She never brought up anything that would make me feel like it was a scam. This lady went on to say that he and my wife had met up in an apartment and that there was a toddler there the same age as our toddler. She wouldn't give me his information besides a first name and a few numbers from his phone number, just so I could check her contacts. She did send me 2 pictures pictures of herself and her husband together. After that phone call, I did not sleep at all that night. I didn't know what to think, and I couldn't get myself to calm down. I didn't want to believe that my whole life was over. I didn't want to think that this person that I loved and trusted more than anything could do this terrible thing to me. But I didn't know why somebody would message all these things and call me. I definitely considered that it could be a scam, or possibly someone from mine or my wife's past that wanted to hurt us and break us apart. My wife continued texting me into the next day, and this would be the day that my wife came back from out of town. As a side note, my wife and I have been on hard financial times, for a while at least, and we've been living with her parents. It's not ideal and causes a lot of stress for both of us. When my wife got home, she came down to our bedroom and asked her mom to watch our toddler for a little bit. I held up a picture of the guy the woman accused her of sleeping with and asked if my wife knew who it was. I looked into her eyes and she was confused. She had no idea who this was. I knew in that moment that none of it was true. I broke down crying and she just kept asking what was going on. I told her and she was concerned that someone had gotten her information somehow and was trying to do something to her to ruin her business. I called the number that the woman had given me and another woman answered and screamed at me, saying that this was harassment and that she was going to file a suit if I didn't leave her alone. Not even 2 minutes later, the police showed up. They had received a call that I was somehow in danger and that they were coming by to do a wellness check. Of course, this threw everything into overdrive. Now we had to explain to her family what was going on, and I made everything 100 times worse. The police took turns talking to me and my wife, both of us assuring them that nothing was wrong and that I was not in danger. It turns out that the number was the wrong area code, but otherwise the exact number for the original landline for my wife's family house, and that's why their names were connected. Eventually, everything kind of calmed down, but things are not okay between my wife and I. She read through the messages and thinks it was an obvious scam of some kind. She's really upset that I don't trust her, and she blames herself for that because of the problems that we've had. I can tell she's trying to act normal, but every time I've tried to give her a kiss or get close to her, I can feel that she really is not involved. I feel like this is a nightmare that I can't wake up from. Our marriage was on a really positive trajectory, and things were getting so much better, and now I feel like there's no hope. I wish I knew what I could say to make up for this, and to let my wife know that I love her and that I trust her 100%. I wish there was some way I could fix this, or to at least go back in time and not be such an idiot. I don't know what I did to deserve this. I wish whoever did this could feel the pain I'm in now and know the damage and the hurt that they caused our family. What should I do? This is honestly a really sketchy situation, because either your wife really is cheating on you, or she's a fantastic actress and was able to pull it off completely even when the cops were called. And I also don't know how much of a scam this really is. There was a lot of really specific details about your wife and where she's going, as well as like details about her life that this person really knew a lot about. And sure, maybe there is someone out there that's trying to ruin your life, but sometimes the simplest solution is really the answer. Maybe that's not this case, I could be wrong, but it all just seems really super specific. And they didn't even try and blackmail you for money or do something to try and extort you for cash or something. All they said was like, hey, your wife's cheating on you and this is who it's with. But in that same vein of thought, they still didn't give you any specifics. Like if this is really somebody who's looking out for you and trying to let you know, they would have been like, oh, it's such and such, here's their first and last name, as well as their address and phone number. Go get them. So this is just really weird overall. But also it begs the question of how these people reacted when you called them back. They freaked out on you and said they were going to try and file a suit for harassment. But then the phone records as well as the text messages would prove that they wanted to talk to you on the phone, which then leads me to believe that they probably did that so nothing would be written down that they said on the phone. But in all honesty, whether this is somebody really trying to warn you or someone just trying to ruin your life or somebody who didn't quite get to the point where they were trying to get money from you, all things considered, this is really ridiculous situation. Like for me personally, when someone texts me and says something absolutely random, I'm not about to believe them for a second. I want some serious hard evidence before I start jumping to conclusions. So going to your wife and saying, hey, are you cheating on me? And holding up a picture of some guy only for her to then look confused and be like, what are you talking about? Is honestly not the best way to figure out the truth. If I was seriously worried that my wife was cheating on me, I would have hired a private investigator to get a look and see what exactly is going on. There are services available to try and figure out if someone's doing something nefarious, especially if your spouse is having an affair or if you're worried that they are. You'll find find out pretty quickly from these people. So yeah, you went about this in a really bad way in my opinion, all things considered, and this could have been handled in a much better and discreet way that didn't uproot your life completely. Hopefully things work out for you, but from the sounds of it, it does not look too good. I keep getting calls and text messages from strangers asking me why I blocked my ex-friend, and I'm honestly not sure what to do about it. I am 20 years old and I've begun getting text messages, calls, and direct messages from someone I do not know asking me why I blocked a now ex-friend out of nowhere. Prior to this, we had been friends for a little over 2 years. I blocked this ex-friend with no explanation to them after I realized how mean they were to me, since they were making fun of me whenever I considered changing my name to fit my gender identity, as well as told me they didn't think I'm autistic after my diagnosis. And they have tried on multiple occasions to put me in really terrible situations that I'm uncomfortable with. And you know what? After seeing that, and after I got busy with school and was off Snapchat for about 2 months, they unadded me on everything and began talking badly about me online. I decided to go all the way and just block them. Part of me feels guilty for never giving an explanation and for just walking away, but I'm also angry and uncomfortable that their response is to now hand out my phone number to all of their internet friends so that they can harass me with text messages and calls, demanding an answer as to why I blocked my friend without an explanation. But I find myself wanting to be petty. I want to give an actual answer. I want to ignore it. I want to cuss them out and block the number, but I just don't know what to do. I've talked with my therapist and she said it's important that I put myself first and you don't owe anyone any of your time, but I honestly still feel guilty about all of this. What should I do? In my opinion, as someone who has gone through something similar to this, your therapist is 100% correct. I've gone down the route of giving someone my time and explaining why I cut them out of my life. And guess what? It only made the situation worse. Do not give them any of your time. You don't have to explain anything. All of the people involved in this story are adults, and you know what? It's time for everybody to grow up. Block them and move on. You really will have a better life without them making fun of you behind your back. You don't need people like that, and people like that are not your friends. They don't care about you at all, and they are only in it just so they can make fun of you. After all, everything they're saying is at your expense. I mean, they removed you from Snapchat so you couldn't see their conversations, and they're just making fun of you. So I just wouldn't even waste your time. So when it comes to these phone calls and these text messages and these direct messages, I would just straight up block them and delete them and get rid of them. Eventually, these people will stop. They'll realize, hey, I'm not going to get an explanation, and they will eventually just give up and look for their next victim. So don't allow them to make you a victim. Move on and live a better life, because you're gonna feel a lot better away from these terrible people. My husband has had an ongoing affair with his boss, but he refuses to find another job, and I'm unbelievably uncomfortable. And now I don't know what to do. To give some background information, my husband works for a construction company. His direct boss is a woman who we will call Sarah. That is not her real name. A little over a year ago, I found out that my husband was cheating on me with Sarah. I found mountains of evidence on his computer and on his phone. There were text messages of him calling her his girlfriend, talking about how in love with each other they are, as well as some inappropriate photos of her, and then some. They had been having a love affair behind my back for at least a year, likely longer. After reading the messages, it's clear that Sarah knew I existed, and that my husband and I had 2 daughters together. My husband hadn't told Sarah about my second pregnancy until close to the birth, but they still saw each other all the way up to the birth of my child. My husband is the breadwinner of our home. I am a stay-at-home mom with our 2 daughters, and this honestly puts me in a horrible position on what to do about this. Eventually, I confronted him about everything. He admitted it, said it was a mistake, and vowed to end things with Sarah. I ended up sending Sarah a pretty lengthy text message saying that she ruined my marriage and that what she did was a horrible thing to do to another woman. She never answered that message. I had asked my husband to find another job, but he refused, saying to me that the paycheck and the insurance benefits for our family were too good to pass up. I reluctantly agreed, as long as communication with Sarah was at a bare minimum, and that it was strictly professional, as she is technically his boss. Again, this was over a year ago. We have both worked hard to move past this, and things have been overall okay in our relationship. But recently, I've been noticing a similar pattern of behavior from my husband, involving things that he was doing in the time he was having an affair with Sarah. He would go in early, he would stay later than he put in his hours for. I've checked the phone records, and it seems he has been talking to her more than usual. I asked him about this, but he's denied anything is going on. He also says Sarah is in a relationship and has been living with this man for a year, and there is nothing happening between them any longer. I listened to my gut that told me something was off and called my company's office. I was told by the woman I spoke to that they don't involve themselves with the personal lives of their employees. Then she just hung up on me. My husband came home livid that day. The woman in the office called Sarah and told her. Sarah just laughed and ended up telling my husband that I called. My husband is now yelling at me, saying I overstepped, stating that nothing is going on between them. He's also mad because if anything were to happen, he would be the one to get fired based on Sarah's position at the company, and that her dad is the boss. Also, my husband's brother works for Sarah as well. He is very close friends with her, and he knew about my affair. My father-in-law is also an employee of Sarah. He also knew about the affair, as well as Sarah's dad. How do I get this woman out of our lives? How can I trust my husband again? Sarah is obviously not going anywhere, and I am so uncomfortable with them working together. I also have no evidence the cheating is still happening. What should I do? This is a crazy situation because I honestly can't believe that your husband is not taking the steps to find another job. If he really cared about you and your kids, he would move away from the company where he cheated on you and go somewhere else. I genuinely don't care how good the pay is, or how much he makes, or how good the insurance benefits are. He cheated on you with his boss, and guess what? He still works for that boss. It's absolutely unbelievable. And in my opinion, the problem is not with Sarah. Sarah is a steaming pile of garbage, don't get me wrong, but please understand that the problem is with your husband. You clearly do not trust your husband. And if I was in your shoes, I wouldn't trust him at all either. He's repeating the same behavior as last time. He's going in early, he's staying out late. You have phone records of him talking to her more. This all literally lines up for when he cheated on you before. I totally understand why you're upset, but you need to focus your energy and anger at your husband. He has been unfaithful, and he's doing nothing to make sure you have some kind of confidence in him. And in my opinion, if this continues, I really don't know how your marriage is going to work out. Like, he's working there, his dad's working there, his brother's working there, and it seems like everybody knew about this cheating except for you. And that is just absolutely unbelievably unacceptable. So I think you need to put the full court press on your husband to get this woman out of your life. There's unfortunately not much you can do, but there is a lot your husband can do. And if he's not willing to take the steps to ensure that you're confident in your marriage, then that honestly is a really big red flag that you need to consider moving forward. An entitled Karen threatens to get me fired from my job, all because her spoiled rotten kid was rude to me and I put him in his place. Things got so bad that I eventually had to explain myself to my boss. Here's what happened. I taught part-time at the local community college, which means I only get paid for the time that I teach. Extracurriculars are at my discretion. The semester is officially over, but I had to pick up something. I went to say hi to the department secretary, whom I'm friends with, and she says to me, I know it's not your responsibility, but would you please contact this kid who's interested in taking the beginning class, but wants some information first? The other guy who usually takes care of this is not available, and I kind of feel bad for the kid. I listen to what she has to say, and then I say, okay, sure, I'll happily do that. I have him email me, and I see what I can do. So I get an email from this kid who's still in high school, and he explains that he's in a program that allows him to take one college class, and he's trying to decide between astronomy and my class. And in this decision-making process, he was requesting that I give him a call so he can ask me a bunch of questions. Now, I don't want him to have my phone number, and I just started a job with long hours where I wasn't getting home until around midnight. Plus, the way he was wording his email was definitely not a request. On the contrary, it came off as some weird entitled demand that definitely left a bad taste in my mouth. And this only led me to think, is this what he's going to be like in class? Are these going to be the emails that I'm going to have to deal with? So I emailed him the detailed class syllabus that lays out the entire semester with every assignment and due dates listed. I hated instructors who couldn't stick to the syllabus, so I always made sure mine was accurate. After that, I tell him to feel free to email me with any further questions and I will happily get back to him. He then responds and he says that he really needs to talk to me without really elaborating why. So I email him back and say that the syllabus is comprehensive and self-explanatory, and then encourage him to email me any specific questions and then I would be happy to answer them. And then I ended my email by saying, also, here's some friendly advice. It's a little rude when you keep insisting on a private phone call after someone has expressed a clear preference for email. The next night, I get home exhausted and just wanted to go to bed. dad. And of course, there's an email, but it's from his mother. And boy, is she upset. She says, "It is not rude to ask for a phone call. Actually, it's wise of him to ask. My son wasn't rude. You were. You lack self-respect and intelligence. I will be forwarding this to your department chair because you're unfit to teach, and I'll make sure you don't anymore." And after reading this threatening email, all I could do was laugh. And I wasn't really angry per se, but rather I was just very annoyed, and I was most definitely not gonna let that slide. And I will admit it, this is a character flaw that I try really hard not to indulge in, but sometimes I just can't help it. I wrote back and said, "Please stop with your petty threats. It's laughable and you're embarrassing yourself. If my job is contingent on the approval of some obnoxious parent like you, I would just quit. I'm on summer vacation. I'm not getting paid for this. I didn't have to respond to your son either at all, but I did it as a courtesy. Under no circumstances whatsoever do I owe anyone a phone call. As for my self-respect, I have enough not to cater to a parent with an inflated sense of entitlement and self-importance. I don't care if your son takes my class or not. It makes no difference to me. I have no shortage of students wanting to take my class, and I'll be fine without them." Then to top off this beautiful email, I took what I would consider a really cheap shot, but I simply couldn't resist it once I thought of it. I then said, "Your son will be better off taking astrology, where he will learn that he's not the center of the universe. You should take it with him." The kid probably didn't deserve that much, even as entitled as he was acting in his email, but his mother definitely did. At the next semester's faculty meeting, I apologized to the chair if I caused any problems, but I explained that she had bothered me. He laughed and said, I could tell. It was kind of impressive though. He said it was no big deal and that they get angry parents all the time. He even noticed that the mother and son in that situation had different last names, so she was probably just the stepmother who pushed him about calling and took it out on me when I told him he was rude. He read the emails and could see I was trying to help him. The secretary said, "I'm so sorry I asked you to contact him," to which I responded, "That's okay. I kinda had fun with it." And to be honest, I really did. I just love it whenever people have the power position and the Karen does not realize it. This entitled Karen really was gonna try and go for this guy's job, but thankfully he didn't bend over and take that kind of treatment for a second. It really is reinvigorating to see stuff like this, because people who act this snobby and rude absolutely deserve to get shut down. And thankfully, this guy did just that and put this entitled Karen right in their place. My boyfriend is refusing to stop being friends with the girl he cheated on me with, and I genuinely don't know what to do. My boyfriend and I have been dating for about 11 months. I found out in March that he had cheated on me with one of my very close friends. I decided to forgive him because I love him, and he has been doing so much to make it up to me. That is, everything except not being friends with this lady. He has known her for I would say about 10 years, and she has helped him through his mental illnesses, as well as some other mad things that happened to him. He constantly reassures me that he isn't attracted to her at all, and he doesn't know why he even did it in the first place. He also acknowledges that he overstepped a boundary that will never again be overstepped. He also lets me see all of his messages with her and has limited contact with her and only talks to her maybe once every 3 days. As a side note, he did spend some quality time with her, but in my eyes, that doesn't make it any better. He still cheated. He tells me just about every day that he loves me and that I'm the only one he sees himself with, and yet he still will not completely cut this girl off. The fact that he is still talking to her at all is extremely uncomfortable for me, and it makes me feel absolutely awful. My boyfriend keeps getting upset that I bring up that fact and that I don't want him to be friends with her anymore. And honestly, I don't know what to do anymore. I feel like I'm in the wrong for asking him to end a friendship, and I'm truly not sure what direction to go. What should I do? This is really a sad situation because not only did your boyfriend cheat on you with your best friend, who's also friends with him for about 10 years, but you also forgave him and welcomed him back into your life. And that really was not the best move for you. You're telling us that you're making steps together as a couple to improve your trust with one another and to be a stronger couple, but his action in staying friends with the very girl he cheated on you with is in complete contradiction with what is actually happening. I honestly think every time he tells you that, "Oh, I love you and you're the only one I see myself with is absolute BS in my opinion. If he really cared and if he really wanted to be with you, he would have cut off communication with this lady immediately, and he would be so remorseful for ever jeopardizing his relationship with you. Instead, what is probably happening, in my opinion, is that he feels like, oh, I can still spend time with this lady because my girlfriend welcomed me back, and no negative repercussions really came my way as a result of this. Sweet. In my opinion, this is super suspicious. And if you want this relationship to last, this is something that definitely has to be cut off. So it really does come down between you as well as this girl that he cheated on you with. He really does have to make a decision. So hopefully this works out and hopefully your boyfriend chooses you. Because as of right now, it seems like he's made his decision. And his decision involves staying in touch with this lady as well as trying to call you his girlfriend. My husband is having an emotional affair with his online friend, and I'm not sure what to do. My husband is heavy into online gaming. Whenever he is not at work, he is playing games and chatting with his friends on Discord. There's a girl that has joined their group of friends that he has recently started to play with alone. He claims it's because no one else is around, but it's getting to the point that they are now talking on voice chat alone for hours and texting outside of the game. I went on his computer today and found some messages between them that I found highly inappropriate. It wasn't anything that would be outright cheating, but saying things like they miss each other, as well as them making plans to travel to meet in real life, while also expressing how much they enjoy spending time with each other. They made plans to watch Netflix on a party together, and he has even downloaded games just to play with her. My husband has been very down lately about work as well as his life in general, but he will never talk to me about it. Instead, he will just stay in his computer room and play video games. But in this conversation, I saw that he had been opening up to her about some very personal things. He also quite often will neglect plans with me in order to talk to her. To top it all off, I was reading through his other Discord messages and saw a chat with a random person where he was pretending to be me and even told this person details about my life while acting as me. The whole situation is incredibly messed up, and I know I need to say something, but I don't know how to do it and to justify my snooping on his computer. I'm honestly at a loss, and I don't know how to handle this situation. What should I do? I think honestly you definitely need to have a conversation about this, because the way he's acting is really inappropriate, as it looks like he's completely ignoring you as well as objective reality. It seems like he wants to go with this alternate reality where he opens up to this random chick online and refuses to have a real conversation with you, his wife. Like he is straight up having an emotional affair with somebody. And even if he gets upset because you were snooping around on his computer, what he's doing is way worse. Not to mention, he's doing this weird thing where he's impersonating you online and pretending to be you and giving out your personal information. I mean, what is up with that? That is completely inappropriate. And while I totally understand how it's easier to open up to somebody online who you don't know and probably will never meet, this man is opening up to another woman while ignoring his actual wife. Your husband should really be talking to you about his problems, as well as the things going on in his life and at work. Instead, he's using Discord as an escape from his reality, and that is honestly, in my opinion, very unhealthy. So you definitely need to say something about this, because this could really lead to something much worse than just emotionally cheating, and it's better to set some boundaries as well as guidelines between the two of you than to let this continue. My fiance wants to ban my son from our wedding because he doesn't want his friends to know that he's marrying a single mom, and I'm not sure what to do. I have been with my fiance for 1.5 years. He just proposed and our wedding is in 4 months. His family is prominent in the local society scene. They have several businesses around and are major donors to local politicians and churches. I have a 5-year-old son. I married his dad, but the marriage was annulled a week later. His dad has partial custody, but he lives with me most of the time. My fiance and his family have a lot of friends that are people who are often invited around to big occasions, such as weddings and other events. They don't know that much about our lives, except what my fiance tells them. His family, of course, knows that I have a child. While they are nice to my son, they told my fiance that they feel uncomfortable with the fact that I have had a child so young and the fact that my previous marriage was annulled, so in their eyes, it just makes me look even worse. So it first started off with them saying that we should never mention that I ever had another wedding ever, and then that immediately turned into, well, why should we tell anybody that she is a single mom? Nobody will ask probably, so there's no point in giving out unnecessary information. So far, even his close friends that he goes out to lunch with, or even plays tennis with every week, have never met my son. I don't have my son on any social social media profile, nor do I bring him out to any of our date nights in public, so nobody really knows in that circle, especially since we didn't move in together until he proposed. However, now the topic of my son has become a problem again with his very devout parents. My fiance sat me down today and actually asked me if we could drop my son off at his cousin's house 45 minutes away the day before the wedding and let him have a fun long weekend there. I told him that I wanted my son to be a part of the wedding, especially since my soon-to-be nieces and nephews by marriage are going to play parts in it. My fiance said that a lot of his society friends are older people and judge others harshly, and that he loves me, but he doesn't want there to be social media comments about him marrying a single mom to spoil our day. He said that he didn't introduce my son to his closest friends because we were dating at that point, and there was no need for them to know, but they will be respectful about it. However, our wedding would be featured in a local newspaper, and the current mayor and well-respected pastor will be coming to it, so he begged me to just leave my son out of the wedding. He apologized for how this came about and says that he regrets letting this evasiveness go on for so long, but there's no way to properly explain why I have a 5-year-old boy that they were not told about. I got pretty angry because I suspected that while his associates tend to be rather gossipy and straight-laced, that at least part of the reason was because my fiance could not get used to my son and always refers to my ex with contempt and called my previous relationship with him a giant mistake that should not have happened, and how excited he is to begin our family once we are married. I'm honestly at a loss for this because I really want my son to be a part of my wedding, but I feel like I am at a crossroads. What should I do? I legitimately cannot believe that your fiance is acting like this. Your fiance, just to recap, wants to hide your son away so nobody else knows that you have a son already because he doesn't like the look of marrying a single mom. Well, guess what? That's exactly what you are. You have a 5-year-old kid and your fiance is actively telling you he does not want that a part of your special day, when in reality, your son absolutely should be there for the wedding. It is so disrespectful to yourself as well as your son to exclude him from the day that should be highly celebrated. And honestly, who cares who he's friends with? I don't care if the Pope is showing up to that wedding. You absolutely should have your 5-year-old son with you on this day. I mean, this guy's getting married to you and he's clearly ashamed that you're a single mom and that you have a 5-year-old kid. I'm honestly surprised that you would even want to get married to someone who feels this way about your son. And yeah, he's not outright saying that he doesn't like your 5-year-old kid, but he is actively trying to get you to not allow him at your wedding. Imagine trying to explain this to your son later in life when he's 16 years old and asking why you didn't want him at his wedding, as well as why his stepfather did not want him there at the wedding as well. You have a chance to stand up for your son and to be there in his corner. And in my opinion, if I was in your shoes, this wedding definitely would be delayed until we find some compromise where my son can be involved in my wedding. There's no way I would let that slide, and honestly, I hope you don't let that slide either, because you owe it to yourself as well as your son to have him involved. My boyfriend ghosted me after I went to a concert with my friends, and I'm not sure what to do. I already have a gut feeling of how this is going to end, but I need to hear from strangers on the internet. So myself as well as my boyfriend have been together for over a year now. We have had 2 apartments together and 3 cats. We've been good friends for 7 years as well before our relationship. Our relationship has been a bit of a roller coaster due to our mental health struggles, but we've always made things work in the end with love and understanding. This past weekend, we had bought tickets to go to a festival, but mine got canceled last minute. My boyfriend isn't the biggest fan of festivals, and the type of music at this festival is not his favorite either, because in his words, it's for girls to dance around undressed while being really inappropriate, and it's just a place for people to have an excuse to waste their life away. I've tried to explain to him time after time how it really isn't like that, and it's invalid since he's never actually been to a festival or let alone a concert in his life. He simply doesn't understand. But I managed to convince him to go, and we were excited all the way up until it got canceled. So instead, my friends and I planned to get tickets for a show for one night instead. He refused to go to that and has been extremely moody all week, accusing me of going to cheat on him and to dress really inappropriately just for attention. Literally anything harmful he could think of to try and make me not go, he basically said. We have no history of cheating, and I've only been to one show in our relationship, which again, he behaved towards me the same way, but not to this extreme. This is definitely new behavior. I went with my two best friends anyway, because I know I'm not doing anything wrong, and I wanted to have a fun night out and see my favorite artist. I promised not to partake in any substances, and to keep the drinking to a medium. I ended up only buying like 3 drinks over the night, so it wasn't even that bad. Since I left on Friday afternoon, I haven't heard from him since then. It is now Sunday, and I've texted him multiple times, giving my updates through the day, all so he can be reassured that I'm safe. But I never got a reply to anything. No checking in, nothing, despite us constantly texting when we are apart. I ended up getting home on Saturday evening, and he's still not here. I'm assuming he's with family, but I honestly don't know where he is. And he's not answering my calls or my text messages. I heard from his mom that they're together, but that's it. I feel awful, angry, sad, lonely. I can't wrap my head around how he cares so little about me and is willing to ruin everything over going out for one night. My friend's theory is that he's cheating on me because of his suddenly random outbursts of accusing me and calling me names, and is using me going out to direct his insecurities onto me. But I really don't know. We are a great team and he's my best friend, but this is so out of character for him, and I'm really not sure what to do. He'll be home either tonight or tomorrow because he has work Monday, and I have no idea how this will end. What should I do? It is definitely really suspicious that your boyfriend suddenly drops off the face of the earth, all because you went out to a concert with your friends. And it's also really weird that he would accuse you of cheating when you've never had any history of cheating ever in your relationship. I certainly would not buy into what your friend is saying, where they are claiming that your boyfriend is somehow cheating on you because of the way he's acting. I personally would not jump to that conclusion without any kind of evidence, but it is definitely really concerning that he's showing this type of behavior. I mean, you said it best yourself. He's never acted like this, and you feel like you're a really good team. So why now would he suddenly ghost you, all because you went to a concert? I personally wonder if he has some kind of like vendetta against concerts or festivals. Like maybe he has some previous bad experience in a relationship, and he's worried that this is going to happen again. But even then, you've been together long enough where it's like, I mean, come on. We have to know each other and trust each other by this point, right? So I think if anything, you definitely need to talk to him about this and try and figure out what went wrong and why he's so upset. Because this is a really small thing. You went to see your favorite musical artist. It's not like you went and said, hey, I'm gonna get with every guy that I see, because that's definitely not what happened. So hopefully this conversation goes well, and hopefully he's able to be reasonable about everything going on, because based on what you've described, he's done everything but that, and you definitely don't deserve that. My boyfriend's immaturity is causing a lot of damages in this relationship, and I'm not sure what to do. My boyfriend is the only child, and his parents never taught him responsibilities in his life. He was raised in a greenhouse environment, and his mom did everything for him. He wasn't even taught to pick up his own toys after playtime as a kid. He seemed like he had it all together with a good education, a good background, and a good job that pays decently well. I was in shock and experienced huge disappointment that he turned out the way he is. I didn't realize a lot of the things until he started to reveal them. His communication style is really bad. He tends to have a really bad temper or pull a temper tantrum rather than having a gracious conversation to compromise. I had to teach him to compromise, and that not everything goes your way. He also doesn't like talking about his emotions or things that are related to our relationship. He is a poor communicator and is constantly keeping me out of the loop on things. His tactic is to avoid people and to avoid problems, all the way up until I start complaining about it, in which he then complains about it. He does these things all the time, and it really upsets me. And when I would confront him and tell him that I am upset because of what he did, no matter what, it was simply wrong. He always has a problem accepting that he is wrong and just start another fight. He would want proof and to analyze the situation just so he can confirm and validate if he would agree that this would upset me. I would find myself explaining for hours to have him understand why he upset me, and all he has to do is simply admit it and apologize. But he would fight and even personally attack me. Things would even get so bad that he would only get apologetic until he realized that I had been crying for hours. And this is all after a very long and tiring conversation. What matters more to him is proving me that I should not be upset. It is pretty hurtful because he completely disregarded the fact that I was crying because of something that he did to me. Unfortunately, this has been a vicious cycle. Now, if I get upset at something he did, it is always a fight, even if I come at this with a calm demeanor. I just try not to get upset upset, but it's always something that he can quickly invalidate. After a serious conversation I had with him about these problems, he did acknowledge he needs therapy. He doesn't want to truly grow up, and he has issues with society not labeling him as a responsible man. He simply doesn't like doing things that would label him as a grown man in society's eyes. If anything, it just agitates him. And even when it comes to responsibilities around the house, it is a huge deal that he has to share them and even be involved at all. We never have gracious conversations, and he says that he's constantly feeling attacked by me. And I have to admit, after spending so much time with him and trying to get to know him, as well as trying to help him understand where I'm coming from, even at a base level, is really starting to make me lose my patience. To this day, he still has not spoken to a therapist. It has been almost a year. I wasn't happy about it, and he was giving me excuses, stating that time was a big commitment for him. Therapy is not something he looks forward to, but I did not accept his excuses. What I pointed out was how he spent his time, as well as his money, prepaying and planning his snowboarding adventures in the winter, but not seriously seeking therapy or even having a plan to improve our relationship. I obviously had not been happy with him, and he is always angry and always gets upset with me. And no matter what, he always has to find a reason to blame me. And while he reconfirmed to me that he's going to start seeking therapy, in my opinion, this should have been done a lot sooner. I am very upset, and I am incredibly hurt that he turned out this way, and I feel like this is really starting to depress me. What should I do? It honestly sounds like you're dating a 12-year-old. As a note, this man is 29 years old. How does someone get that far in life without having basic communication skills, with the baseline ability to at least talk, as well as some plan to take care of themselves? I mean, this is just unacceptable. No matter what you say or do, this man completely invalidates every experience you have, regardless of the context, and that is absolutely unfair. It looks like you're trying to do all the legwork when it comes to communicating, and he simply doesn't care at all. He is always going to try and find some way to invalidate you and to try and rationalize why you're upset. And it sounds like it's just a pride issue because he doesn't want to be proven wrong. Well, guess what? When you're in a relationship, you're not always going to be right. It's going to be compromises left and right, and you're going to work together for better goals between the two of you. That's just how it works. Sometimes you have to give some ground away, and that's okay because you love the other person. And I think the original poster, she's trying to do that, but her boyfriend is just incredibly immature. It's like this grown-up Peter Pan who never grew up, whose parents never disciplined him, and so his only way to react was to throw a temper tantrum. Like, how did he get this far with nobody correcting him? He's 29. So I wish you the best of luck in this relationship, because if I was in your shoes, I would have dumped this person like yesterday, because there's no way on earth I would be treated that way. And in my opinion, I think you can do so much better than this immature man who is constantly invalidating your feelings. My boyfriend of almost 5 years just confessed to cheating on me 4 years ago, and I don't know how to feel or what to do. I was spending the night at my boyfriend's house, and we were having drinks and having fun. We began talking about how our relationship used to be when it was just the first couple of years of officially dating. Our relationship used to be very rocky, and definitely not what you would call a healthy relationship. We would fight over the smallest things. I was besties with my ex's boyfriends, and he would spend his free time with other girls. By the way, these girls were ones that he grew up with since elementary school, and went to school with them all the way through high school, so it's not like he would be spending his time with random chicks. Long story short, we had no boundaries in place for each other, and we were pretty toxic and fought a lot. Years later, and now in college, we've matured a ton and have the healthiest and strongest relationship ever. While talking about it, he mentioned how crazy it was that I would spend time with my exes and go out with them while we were together. We laughed about it and joked about how terrible our relationship used to be. I asked him if he had ever done something like that too during that time, which is when he said yeah, but said he'd only tell me if I didn't get worked up over it since it was years ago. I reluctantly agreed. He ended up telling me that one night he was hanging out with my best friend at the time and she didn't have a ride home, so she insisted on spending the night at his house. Also, I'd like to mention that the day they were together, they were in a group of people until everyone left and she stayed behind. Anyways, she insisted on spending the night and that she'd have someone pick her up in the morning. He hesitantly agreed and told her to find somewhere to sleep, like on the couch or something. They never got along really well, so giving up his bed for her wasn't really in mind for him. She refused and jumped onto his bed and kept nudging him to join her. Long story short, he laid beside her, and while they were talking, she grabbed his hand, and she suggested that she wanted to go further than just laying on the bed together, if you know what I mean. When she wanted to go further, he ended up refusing and admitted it was a mistake and that he couldn't do that to me. She also ended up agreeing and said it would be pretty messed up because me and her were really close, as if they didn't already do enough harm as it is. He still cuddled and fell asleep with her that night, and she left in the morning. He also mentioned that she'd always try to be very touchy with him and that she would always joke around with him about wanting to spend some quality time with him, if you know what I mean. Also, I don't want to make this story seem like it's a one-sided issue and like my boyfriend isn't in the wrong here either, because even though he may not have mentioned it, I'm smart enough to acknowledge that she wouldn't feel comfortable enough to act and talk like this if he didn't make her feel like it was okay and that she would be able to do that. Immediately after being told this, I felt humiliated and disappointed more than anything. My friend was best friends with me all throughout high school. She was the friend I would say never backstabbed me or turned fake like a lot of the high school friends that I've had. We had a real bond and I loved her with all of my heart. We simply drifted apart after high school and talk every now and then, but hearing this was tough. In my head, they hated each other and always talked bad about each other to me. I feel lied to and embarrassed. Both my boyfriend and this friend have gone years pretending like nothing happened. What's worse is my boyfriend did this with her and still allowed me to get closer with her over the years. Someone who would easily lie and try to sleep with my boyfriend, even if they didn't end up doing that. And I don't know what to do. Years ago, we were different people, and I don't want to hold this against him, but it's really tough. What am I supposed to say the next time this friend reaches out to me? Should I hold my boyfriend accountable for cheating on me years ago? And while we were different people back then, should I just let it go? Since we are both so different now, what should I do? This is definitely a really messed up situation. Your boyfriend definitely went behind your back and spent time with this lady in a way that is very inappropriate, especially since he is still your boyfriend and was at the time. And bad enough, it's with your best friend. This is definitely something that needs to be addressed with your friend, if anything, just to cut them off. And you said it best. You and your boyfriend have grown up and have become very mature, and it sounds like your relationship now is very, very solid, but back then things were definitely not as good. So if you did want to make it work, that's kind of where my headspace would be. On the other hand, he definitely was disloyal with you in spending time with this other girl. He went behind your back with your best friend, and I really think you need to remember that. This is absolutely not okay, and it's something that definitely needs to be figured out. So hopefully things work out for you, and hopefully you're able to find some kind of solution, because I can't imagine how frustrating and how heartbreaking it would be to find out that something happened 4 years ago. My fiance is constantly criticizing me, and I don't know what to do. The title says it all. My fiance is constantly criticizing me, and it's driving me bonkers. Everything about me or everything I do is fair game. For background, people usually describe me as a super nice guy with good vibes and always smiling. I'm relatively well liked by most people, and my personality type is really the life of the party, if you know what I mean. I've had several previous long-term relationships and have never felt like this before. I constantly feel like I'm messing things up or doing something wrong. For one, she criticizes my appearance constantly. Don't wear that. It makes you look even shorter than you already are. And this is all over a crew neck t-shirt. She has even asked me to wear lifts around her for photos, despite me telling her that it makes me feel badly, as well as the fact that she doesn't accept me for who I am. And despite all this, she still keeps doing it, criticizing my wardrobe, my style, my hair, basically everything. She is also always mad about everything with the house, and she will yell at me about the most ridiculous things. Why are you standing over there? Move. Or sometimes she'll say, why are you eating over there? The table looks more comfortable. She will literally yell at me about where I choose to stand, sit, which room I'm in, how I eat my food, how I'm cleaning things, etc. As a note, I'm a very clean and neat person and have never ever had anyone critique so many little things like this. She'll put me down in front of her friends or even her family. She'll always make digs at how short I am, about how I'm apparently the worst storyteller, and about how I'm always late to things, to the point where even my own mother called to tell me she noticed it. She constantly asks me for help with no regard as to whether I'm busy or not, whether it's reviewing her social media posts or a text message from a coworker, as well as picking her outfit out or what to cook. Sometimes I'll spend hours at a time simply helping her out. For example, I recently got a new job and went through the interview process for many positions. I left mine and at the same time bought a new house. She didn't once offer to help, and in fact, at one point told me, "Shut up about this already," all because I was asking for advice. When I confronted her about this, she seemed sorry and only then tried to listen. She offered no help when I was moving and even sent packages to my new place early and got mad at me when I didn't return her dresses to Amazon fast enough. However, when it came time for her to look for a job, I was actually able to connect her with what ultimately ended up being her position via a friend of mine. And I even helped her compose emails to the recruiters, coached her through the interview, and advised her on how to navigate it. For reference, I work more hours than her, I make 5 times her salary, and have many outside of work responsibilities, but I never once give her pushback. It's always towards me. I'm so lost at this and I really don't know what to do. If my significant other treated me like that, I would not be with them at all. This honestly sounds utterly exhausting. I mean, this lady is absolutely putting you second, if not completely last. This does not sound like a good match to me. There's no respect for you, and she keeps putting you down in front of other people. And it's not like other people are not noticing. Your mom called it out immediately. I would take a good hard look at this relationship because this sounds incredibly toxic. This does not sound like a good relationship, but in all actuality, it sounds like an abusive one. You can do so much better than this, and you can find someone who's not going to put you down at the drop of a hat. You make a lot of money and you have your own house, and it sounds like this lady is absolutely taking advantage of you. She does not help you with anything, but in turn expects you to drop everything just to help her. And that does not sound cohesive or in any way complimentary to both of you. If anything, it seems like she's just using you. So if you do decide to stick with this relationship, which personally I would have been out of there a long time ago, I wish you the best of luck because I don't see this changing anytime soon. I deleted my husband's YouTube channel after it gained about 600,000 subscribers, and now he's so angry he won't talk to me, and I'm not sure what I did wrong. Okay, so hear me out. Ever since I met my husband 6 years ago, he had this YouTube channel. He didn't tell me, and in fact, nobody really knew about it, and it was just his little secret that he found a little embarrassing. I was over at his house, and he had all this equipment, microphones, lighting, everything, and I would ask him why he had so much equipment, and he would tell me that he would use it for gaming, and I found this a little weird. I also found out about this YouTube channel after finding his script on his PC. While he found it really embarrassing that I found out about this, I didn't really think it was a big deal for me. It was just a little weird in my opinion. At the time, he made tutorial videos aimed at people who didn't know how to use technology. So he has this website and following of mostly old people who struggle with basic stuff, and they would send him messages about how to do stuff as requests. He would make a whole video cater towards that request, and it was all for free, and he didn't really make any money off of this. Eventually, I would get really annoyed with his obsession over this channel, and he would reassure me that this was his last video that he was doing. Literally, it was very annoying. We would be out having fun, and he would randomly bring up some tech issue that he could make a video on, and I would be frustrated, like, come on, we're just watching a movie. Another similar situation to this was when we were at a friend's birthday party, and my friends overheard my husband asking me if I just so happen to know how to fix a satellite signal. Obviously, I know nothing about it, but he's asking me, probably just trying to include me in the conversation or something. So my friend overheard him and said, "That's so random, why would you ask that?" He just said, "Oh, it's nothing," and just brushed it off like he normally does. At this point, I got really annoyed, and I did something that I really regret, even though it was in the heat of the moment and I was frustrated. I looked at my friends and I told them about his YouTube channel right there, knowing that he would be embarrassed about other people finding out about his channel because he doesn't like the sound of his voice even though it sounds normal. He immediately got uncomfortable and tried changing the topic, but my friends were already searching his channel and they found it. They started playing a random video and he just walked off, which is what he does when he gets upset. In fact, he was so upset he left immediately, and he said to me, "I can't believe you would do that to me." And after that, he didn't talk to me for the rest of the evening. His videos also became the group joke of my friend's WhatsApp group. Eventually, he started posting new videos, and before the videos would begin, he would shout out the person who asked for help and would display their name and photo, and these people were all so freaking old. It was honestly very embarrassing for me, and this went on for quite a while. Eventually, my friends started asking me all of these questions about what he's doing. They want to know why he's doing it and if he gets paid. And to be honest, I don't know why he does this, and I don't know if he gets paid. I have had this conversation with him a lot, and his response is always, "I make the videos to help people that are struggling. I don't do it for money." Yeah, great help making tech videos. videos. After a while, he took a 2-week break or something like that and said he would be back to his YouTube followers soon. In this time, he started going to the gym, and I was really happy this YouTube phase was finally over. So I did the thing that I thought was necessary. I deleted his channel. The night before, I asked him if he would be upset if he didn't have a YouTube channel, and he said no, and that he's going to delete it soon once he's done helping people. And this is honestly something I've heard over the years. So I just went ahead and did it for him. I deleted it. 2 days later, the weather was amazing, and we, alongside like 15 other friends, went to a restaurant. It was lovely and so refreshing. It was going great. One of my friends then started talking about how she posted a picture and that she got X amount of notifications and all this stuff. My husband then looks to me and says how perfect it is that he can take 2 weeks off and that his followers wouldn't bother him with help requests and that he has 0 notifications. But he starts to get curious as to why he has no notifications. He says maybe his phone logged him out or something. And this is where things blow up. He goes to log in and he has literally no notifications. He thinks maybe his internet has gone bad. And so I reminded him kindly about how I asked him a couple of days ago if he would be upset if his channel disappeared. And that's when he connected the dots that I had deleted his channel. His face dropped. I've never in my 6 years of knowing him seen him like that. Not even when I found his channel. He frantically started typing on his phone, and after a solid minute of typing, he started crying, and I mean actually sobbing crying. He started asking me why I would do that, and it took him so long, and all of his videos are gone. He literally only had 670,000 subscribers, which isn't a lot keeping in mind he posted over 700 videos, and only had 290 million views total. I mean, there are people with millions of subscribers that don't care. The food just arrived and he wasn't listening to me at all. It was a scene and my friends tried calming him down, but it literally just made things worse, and he stormed off in the car, absolutely crying his eyes out. I got a lift back home and I found him on the computer trying to contact YouTube support, crying and sobbing the entire time. He was devastated. He locked the room and didn't come out the entire night. It has been 8 days today and he hasn't spoken to me at all. He isn't even going to work right now either, and is using up the days off that he saved for our holiday at the end of the year. He just sleeps all day and doesn't even look at me or talk to me. I've apologized again and again and again. I deleted his channel so we can start a new chapter in life together. He's still crying even though it's been days now. I told his family about what happened and they came over. I could hear him from the other room crying, telling them how he worked so hard since he was a kid to build that channel up and that it was all my fault. He doesn't eat anything that I make him and he just orders out. His mom has said to give him some space, and his entire family is just annoyed with me and disappointed, but they don't understand what it's like. He's 24 years old making videos to help 70-year-old men on the internet, and it's apparently my fault? How am I supposed to fix this situation? Am I the jerk here? I don't think I have the words to fully articulate how angry this post made me. The fact that she deleted somebody's YouTube channel that they've worked their entire life on, that they pour their heart and soul into, in private mind you, and put so much effort into trying to help people regardless of their age, is just disgusting to me. The original poster in this situation absolutely is the biggest jerk I've ever heard of in my life. The sense of entitlement that you have towards dictating what he can and can't do in his free time is absolutely disgusting and absolutely appalling. I mean, is this lady not self-aware of how self-centered and narcissistic she is? You took this man's one hobby away from him that he was passionate about. It was something outside of work that I guarantee you made him money, and you took it upon yourself to take this away from him. You should absolutely feel ashamed of yourself, and yes, in case you're wondering, this is entirely your fault. And it's bad enough that you and your friends were just making fun of your husband and mocking him behind his back, all because he wanted to make videos to help people. It doesn't matter what the videos were, they were harmless in nature. They were trying to leave a positive impact on the internet, but you literally took that away from him. And to say that, oh, he only had 290 million views, that's a lot of views. I don't care who you are, especially for an individual channel, and he grossed over 670,000 subscribers. That is not easy. Most people can't even get over 1,000 subscribers, but to have that many people say, yes, I want to watch your stuff, that's a big deal. I feel so bad for the husband in this situation because this is so unfair to them, and I really, truly hope he's able to get his YouTube channel back, because I can't imagine having a channel like that taken from me after spending your entire childhood up to your adulthood working on it. The original poster's wife is absolutely a jerk, and this guy can do a lot better than her in my opinion, because this lady sounds like the most self-centered person I've ever heard of in my entire life. But what would you do if you were in this situation? Leave a comment down below. If you had a channel that big, would you be upset as well if you lost it all because of your selfish wife? Let us know down below. I am starting to feel very resentful towards my boyfriend because his life is so easy and fun compared to mine, and I'm honestly not sure what to do. I will preface this by saying that I love him so much, and he's great, and this really isn't his fault, but it's really starting to drive a wedge between us, and I'm not sure what to do in this situation. For some context, we've been together for almost 2 years. We live together, we share bills, pretty much everything. I work at a pharmacy as a technician, and I'm also a server on the side. On top of that, I'm a full-time college student with an hour commute each way. I get 0 days off a week and can barely afford to pay my portion of our bills. My boyfriend works from home doing software sales. He makes 3 times the amount that I do. And I'm not just saying this because I'm jealous, but he works maybe 8 hours a week. He even admits he does next to nothing. He sleeps a lot, plays golf several times a week, and hangs out with his friends, again, several times a week until very late. He does pay slightly more when it comes to the bills, and he does cook for us because he enjoys it. I never come home to a clean house. When I get home, he's either napping or with friends, and it's starting to really make me upset. My serving job essentially takes it out of me, and I come home exhausted, mentally and physically, every day. I know it isn't his fault, but I've started getting pretty upset that he constantly gets to have fun, and I have to work my butt off every day with no breaks to pay my part of the bills when he makes so much more than me, and I'm also expected to keep the house clean. I can't exactly ask him to stop having fun, and I also can't ask him to pay more because he has a credit card debt and he's trying to pay it off. And conversations about the housework usually end with him saying it's not fair he should have to do it all when he's the one that pays more of the bills. It really is an unfair balance, and I can't help but be jealous, and I really don't know what to do. I honestly think it's ridiculous that your boyfriend is not doing more chores around the house. Like, he literally needs to step up to the plate and kind of take care of things, especially since you're gone all day and doing all kinds of stuff. I can't really comment on how much he's paying in terms of like rent or bills or anything like that, because I think that's a conversation you two need to have in terms of like how much you both make and maybe him stepping up to the plate more possibly. But when it comes to keeping the house clean, he absolutely needs to step up and do something. His job clearly does not have as much stress as your 2 jobs do have, on top of being a full-time college student. It's an unfair balance, and you know what? He definitely needs to step up. And this is a minor thing, like this is something he should be able to do. Just clean up the house and keep things tidy. You're not asking for a lot. You're not asking for anything groundbreaking. Just clean up after yourself, because you certainly don't have any time. You're a full-time student and you work 2 jobs just to try and stay afloat. So I think an honest conversation about how you feel in this situation and how you're overworked and you feel like garbage when you come home would really go a long way. If your boyfriend cares, he will listen, and he'll get the picture that, hey, I need to step up because my girlfriend is feeling overwhelmed. Hopefully that's the result of that conversation, and hopefully things get easier for you, because at the moment I definitely feel sorry for your situation, and hopefully things improve. My ex's close friend keeps trying to hook up with me, and I really don't know what to do about it. First off, I'd like to say that I do have a drinking problem. I've been trying to get sober for months. I'm currently on day 35 without a drink, and I've fallen off the wagon a few times, but this is the longest I've ever gone. I lost the love of my life to addiction. What I mean by this is that I was planning on marrying this woman. I couldn't imagine my life without her in it. It's been over a year since I left her, and I am still crazy in love with her, but my drinking caused me to be a complete jerk to her. I lied to her, I was verbally aggressive, I accused her of things that she didn't do, I spread rumors about her. I don't know why I did any of this. I'm not trying to justify my actions at all. I'm just being honest. The worst thing I did, though, by far, was try to sleep with 2 close friends of hers while I was still with her. Both of these instances happened when I was really under the influence, and it's something I feel awful about to the grave. Looking back, I actually wonder if I chose friends of hers that were unavailable to me on purpose. At the time, it really was more about wanting to hurt her as much as possible, instead of wanting to actually be with either of these people. Why did I want to hurt her so much? Because she is the first person to call me out on my addiction and to not enable me. At the time, I was livid with her for that. And really, all she ever wanted was what was best for us. I have done everything I can to better myself. I'm in therapy, I'm not drinking anymore. I am trying to confront all of my issues. Here's where the problems start to arise though. Lately, one of her female friends keeps messaging me and wanting to hook up. This woman is so beyond nasty, both as a person and physically. I mean, her teeth are rotten. She has really bad hygiene. She has the ugliest tattoos all over herself, and she likes messing with married men. I remember when I was with my ex, I would question why she was friends with this woman, and she said they were both part of a big group of friends years ago, and that group all pretty much split up and moved away. This woman keeps messaging me and asking me to meet up with her. She keeps saying, "Well, now that your ex and I aren't on good terms, we can be together." I don't want to be with her. She's disgusting and she's a heavy drinker, and I'm trying to avoid people like that. I keep telling her no, but she keeps persisting. I blocked her number and then she started texting me from a new number. And right now, she is the only link I have to my ex. My ex has blocked me everywhere. For a while, this friend of hers would message me and tell me everything my ex was up to. I didn't even have to ask her. She was just a gossip. I actually liked hearing what is going on in my ex's life though. I like knowing that she is bettering herself and taking care of herself. But now she messages me and keeps throwing it in my face that once I got drunk and started to hit on her. I don't really feel like I have much of a leg to stand on, and I am worried that if my ex finds out that I am even talking to her, that it will just simply look bad. One day, my goal is to be stable again, enough for my ex to see that I've changed, and that one day, hopefully, we could get married. I have never been in this situation before. I know I can just tell her no and tell her to leave me alone, but it just doesn't seem to be working. What should I do? You need to put your foot down and say no, absolutely not, I don't want you in my life, and then keep blocking her. If you keep entertaining whatever this lady's saying, she will keep coming back. And that is just not gonna work. You can't allow her back in your life. Block her every single time. Also, I think you need to understand where your ex is coming from. You treated her like garbage for years. She has no obligation to come back to you. You were abusive, you were neglectful, you were manipulative. I don't blame her for blocking you on everything and saying you are not gonna be in my life. And I think based on your past behavior, you need to respect that because she deserves to be happy just like you do. And it's great that you're working on yourself and you're trying to be better, but she's under no obligation to try and come back to you and potentially enter into another abusive relationship. So for me, it seems a little bit creepy that you're like, oh, one day we're going to get married and we're going to be together. No, that idea needs to get thrown out the window. If you care about her, you'll leave her alone. Because in my opinion, she deserves somebody who's going to treat her nice from the start and not someone who's going to come back after years of abuse with these unrealistic, grandiose plans of potentially getting married. My boyfriend is making me choose between him and my family, and I don't know what to do. Long story short, I met my boyfriend 3 years ago. After knowing each other for a while, we started dating. However, he had moved back to the state where he's stationed, as he works in the army. Due to long distance, we ended up breaking up, but staying as friends. I visited him a couple of times, and he visited me as well. But this is where things start to get really complicated. Yes, we were officially done, but the way we were talking to each other, as well as visiting each other, was more than just a friend. When I visited him in the summer, I found out that he was lying about his ex, as well as his other relationships. It hurt me so much, but what hurt me more was to lose him. Because of this, I continued to stay in his life, even though it gave me a major trust issue and severe anxiety. In my head, I knew I deserved way better, but still, he was my best friend and the person I loved. Months passed by, and now he is ready to take things more seriously. We talked about being official and moving in together. When this conversation was brought up, I was still in school finishing up my degree. Hence, it wasn't practical for me to move to a different state when I'm almost done with my schooling. Then, I found a really good job in the state I'm living in. Due to the situation that I'm currently in, it was challenging to move and apply for jobs in the state he's living in. Because of all these reasons, he decided to move to the state that I'm in, where we eventually found an apartment where I live. Here is where another problem came in. I am a guardian of my little sister who is still a minor. My parents are currently in another country, and I have been staying with my relatives. Since we only have one bedroom, I had to arrange my living situation with my relatives so my sister can stay with them while I'm at work. I work 12 hours each day, so it's hard for me to take care of her when I'm still at work. It's been hard to make this arrangement, and my boyfriend has been mad at me for not moving in with him already. He traveled really far to move to this state, and I understand that he feels lonely and wants me to be there, but what he is asking me is like abandoning my sister, which I simply can't do. Now he wants to go back to the state he's from and wants me to quit my job, leave my family, and move with him. He said we can go our separate ways this time if I don't want to move to the other state with him. If I were to do so, I would have no job, no family, and I obviously love him and I've been wanting to build a life together, but I'm not sure if this is the right way to do so. Maybe I should have never agreed to move in with him and never stayed after finding out about his lies. I can never abandon my sister, but I also don't want to lose him. What should I do? The fact that your boyfriend is not being willing to understand your situation involving your sister is a big red flag. I mean, he's making you choose between your family or him, and in my opinion, if I was in your situation, I would pick my family every time. There's no way I'm gonna give up on my family who's been with me my entire life just to spend a life with someone who, by the way, I just found out has been lying to me. Whenever you're given an ultimatum towards your actions as well as what you should do with your life, that's when you need to take a step back and be like, whoa, wait a second, what's going on here? Because it sounds like this guy's trying to isolate you from the rest of your family, which really goes to show me that he's probably not as good as you think he is. From what you've described, this man is really dishonest, he's selfish, and he's trying to manipulate you and trying to control your life. Your sister needs your help, and there's no way you could just kick her aside and have your relatives take care of it. That's not how this works. And to put it frankly, you better believe your sister's gonna remember if you abandon her right about now. Her parents, as well as yours, are overseas in another country, and they're trusting you to take care of her. So to just give up on her like that would be a huge breach of trust, which will be incredibly long-lasting and not go away. So for me, the choice is easy. I would not bend to any type of ultimatum like this, and I would choose my family first no matter what. An entitled Karen starts changing her kid's diaper in the middle of a restaurant, and everyone around her is just absolutely appalled. But I refuse to deal with this type of entitlement, so I put her in her place. So this happened when I went to have lunch with my parents. We went to the usual place, which is a lovely pizzeria with a huge terrace. We sat down, ordered some food, and enjoyed some chatting while sipping drinks. We immediately noticed a table of about 6 women, the entitled party with the entitled Karen. They were loud, obnoxious, and absolutely didn't consider other visitors of this establishment. They had 4 kids and 1 infant with them. I remember that only 1 out of the 4 kids was sitting down quietly enjoying their ice cream. The other 3 were little hellspawn running amok around the tables. The moms were laughing and enjoying themselves, while my patience was dropping to 0 pretty quick. After the kids chose our table to run around, I sternly told them to stop that and to go back to their own table. The entitled Karens at their table shot daggers in my direction, but didn't say anything directly to me. They just called their kids and told them to go play in the kids' corner. It took about a minute and the kids were back, and that was also the time when our food came in. They almost caused the waitress to drop a plate as she stumbled over one of them. Luckily, she managed to make it without any kind of disaster. The waitress then went to the table and asked if they would mind their children, to which the mothers played it down like it was no big deal. They just said, "They're just children just playing." Apparently, they didn't realize that a restaurant is not a playground. But this wasn't even the worst of it. They also didn't realize that a restaurant is not a toilet, so you can imagine my disgusted surprise when this entitled Karen takes her infant out of the stroller and begins to change her child's diaper right then and there, on the dining table in the middle of the restaurant. We have already finished our meal, thankfully, but I was upset regardless. I was not quite sure what was going through this entitled Karen's head, but apparently her 2 brain cells were too busy trying to find each other in the empty space, so nothing useful came out of there. Once she was done with changing the kid, she just casually put the poopy diaper on the corner of the table. She packed it into a small package, but didn't put it in a bag or anything. She just expected the waitress to just pick it up and throw it away for her. And the final straw to this disgusting display from these entitled Karens was that nobody washed or sanitized their hands after changing this kid's poopy diaper. And by this point, I was fed up. I very loudly said that they are disgusting pieces of garbage, and that perhaps at home they would find it normal to put poopy diapers on their dining table, but in a modern society, however, that's not a thing. I then demanded that these people start behaving like people and not like animals, where they're putting their poop exactly where they eat. When the waitress saw this, she was also incredibly upset. What's even worse is that this entitled Karen wasn't even actually aggressive, but she was just completely oblivious to things around her. She was completely dismissive and perhaps not even capable of understanding that every single customer around her was angry about her brats running around the tables, as well as her putting poopy diapers on the table. After that encounter, I never really came back to that restaurant and really did start to dislike it after a while, because I'm not fond of having someone's poopy diapers on the table while I'm trying to eat. What kind of parent would do that? Like, if your kid needs to be changed, then you need to go to the bathroom to do that. There's quite literally a station available where you can change your kid and get things taken care of. But I can't imagine witnessing that inside of a restaurant and still having any kind of appetite or even wanting to come back. That entitled Karen literally put a poopy diaper on the table and expected the waitress to take care of it. That is absolutely disgusting. So good for you for speaking up, and I don't really blame you for not going back, because if I was in your shoes and I witnessed something so disgusting like that, I probably would not go back to that restaurant either. I just found out that my boyfriend went on a 7-day vacation with his ex last year, and he never told me, and I really don't know how to make sense of any of this or what to do. In 2021, I moved from California to New Jersey for school. My boyfriend and I met on a dating site in July, and we hit it off instantly. He just got out of a 4-year relationship in February, and my relationship of just under 2 years ended in March. My ex and I were still friends when we broke up, and we even made plans for him to come visit me in September from another state. At the time, I wasn't really looking for a relationship and made it clear to him during our first couple of dates. He knew that my ex was visiting and was aware I was talking to other guys besides him. We clicked so well. We started hanging out almost every other day since the day we met, and he slept over at my apartment after every date. We quickly developed feelings for each other, and I found myself losing interest in just about everyone else. After about 2 weeks, he expressed wanting to be exclusive, but didn't want to rush me, and that he had to stop talking to other girls a while ago. He also started getting mad and hating the idea of me still talking to other people and having my ex visiting me in September. He told me about an upcoming annual family vacation that he goes on every year in August. It lasts for 1 week, and he said he didn't want to lose me while he was away. He also jokingly asked if I wanted to come along, and he asked this a few times leading up to the vacation. The night before the vacation, we cuddled in bed and poured our hearts out to each other. We had been unofficially exclusive for about a month. I told him I canceled on my ex and that he wasn't coming in September anymore, and my boyfriend was so happy when he heard that. When he got back from vacation, he practically moved in with me. We lived together for 10 months and fell deeply in love. He said he's never met anyone he felt so strongly connected to. He asked me recently to come on this vacation trip this year with his family, and I agreed. We talked about the future and made plans together. He drove up to his parents for Thanksgiving and Easter's in North Carolina. I went to his relatives' parties and met his distant family, uncles, cousins, everybody. He even met my parents at my graduation in May. When my lease was over in June, I had planned to go back to California, and he would move back to North Carolina. He begged me to come live with him in North Carolina, but we ultimately agreed to do long distance for a year, visiting each other every couple of months, and that he would be moving to California after that year. After just 1 month apart, I flew to North Carolina to surprise him for our 1-year anniversary. I ended up staying there for a month and went on the vacation with his entire family in August. I just got back to California a few days ago and saw an Instagram post from his brother's girlfriend of last year's vacation, and he is laying next to his ex-girlfriend in the Caribbean. I was in complete disbelief. I had no doubt in my mind that it must have been a re-upload from a couple of years ago, but after asking him about it, he admitted to me that he was stuck bringing her because his parents had already bought her the tickets and the trip was already paid for. He said they fought the entire time and he wasn't even hanging out with her. He knew he had to tell me this eventually, and it is what he was afraid of the entire time. I just burst into tears. I feel such immense betrayal. I feel deceived and I feel hurt. I'm reminiscing on the timeline and what we've got going on between us, and I just couldn't understand how he was able to keep this away from me for so long after everything we've been through. When was he gonna tell me? Was he even ever going to tell me? We were already so closely connected when he left for the vacation. We confessed feelings to each other. I even canceled my ex's visit. He said I miss you when he was away. I've been ignoring ignoring his calls and text messages for a couple of days now. I want to take some time to really process everything. I've cried so much I couldn't make up my mind if I should walk away or give him another chance. I fear that if I stay, things would never be the same anymore. I would be in constant doubt about everything. It sucks so bad because he's the first guy I thought as someone I could be married to. I feel like the future I've imagined just changed right before my eyes. I'm an emotional mess right now, and I don't want my crass feelings to dictate the outcome of the decision I'm making. What should I do? This is a tough one because he definitely lied to you, but I think the details here really do make a difference. And I really would trust your boyfriend when he says, hey, I had no choice, she was coming no matter what, and I didn't even want to spend time with her. But in that same vein of thought, he was sitting there laying next to his ex-girlfriend, and he didn't tell you about this for over a year. If he really wanted to be loyal, like he was saying at the beginning of the relationship, he should have said something much sooner, like as soon as it was happening. If not that, as soon as he found out she was still coming, because it's truly not fair for you to have to find out this way. It definitely will leave a bad taste in your mouth, and I can completely understand where you're coming from. So I think if anything, there's definitely going to be a conversation about this between the two of you. I think if he really does love you, he'll do whatever he can to make it so you can trust him again, because obviously you do love him, and it would be terrible for this to be the end of your relationship. My close friends left me out of our yearly summer getaway without telling me, and now I'm questioning if these people are even my friends to begin with. I exist within a group of 5 very close friends. We're all 26 years old. We've been friends since kindergarten. Most nights growing up were spent at my mother's house with them. Though I personally grew up very poor, they would all still be welcome for dinner any night they needed to, or if they just wanted to stay over, which was often more than once a week, and we always had extra space for them to sleep over. We generally all take some time off of work in the summer to go up to a cottage owned by one of my friend's father. This summer was planned to be no different. Starting in May, we had made plans to go sometime in August. I have been asking in our group chat for a little over a month now when exactly we are going to leave, and every time it came up, I was completely ignored, which was very jarring. About a week ago, they all started posting Instagram stories, and they had very clearly been already at that cottage for a couple of days, and they continued to post daily for another week. The group chat had been silent for about 2 days before they left, so they obviously coordinated this without me. I wound up asking something along the lines of, I just want to know if I pissed anyone off. I have no idea what could have happened for me not to even be included in this. And the message has been seen by everyone in the group and went a while without any kind of response. After about 3 or 4 hours, the message received from one of the group members said, I just didn't feel like paying for your beer and groceries for a week. I was shocked by this statement because this has never been the case. In fact, I always bring my own food because I have a stomach condition that makes me very sick if I live off of hot dogs and hamburgers for more than a day or so at a time. So I only eat anything that they bring if they absolutely insist. I also very specifically don't enjoy drinking beer and only accept it if it's explicitly offered to me. I always bring my own beverages of choice, and my snacks are always shared amongst the others. For example, everyone winds up eating my cheese slices that I bring for sandwiches on their burgers, which I don't mind whatsoever. I called him out saying that I always bring my own stuff, and the answer was, you always end up eating our stuff anyways, which is blatantly false. I don't eat anybody else's food unless they tell me to do it, and I always hesitate in accepting it because it makes me feel anxious, and rightfully so. Everyone in the group saw this, and nothing was said, which makes me feel as if they all feel the exact same way. I'm feeling heartbroken about all of this. I've always been treated differently because of how poor I was growing up. I was homeless on my own when I was 15 years old, and it took a really long time to get where I am now. There have been offhanded remarks in the past from one of the friends, basically implying that they always pay for me and that they actually have to work for their money, referring to me being, of course, on social assistance when I was younger, in order to, not starve to death, and to be able to simply pay my rent. I feel like everyone still sees me like a charity case. It is almost impossible to break the stigma that I somehow expect things to be given to me for free, which has never been the case. In fact, I absolutely hate accepting things from anybody. Either way, I left the group chat and all other chats that we happen to be in together. One of the members added me back a couple of times, and I expressly requested that I not be added back. I have felt horrible ever since this happened, and I really don't know what to do here. I feel like I can't just shrug this one off, like everything else that's happened. I absolutely hate that I'm seen as a liability like that. Even if it was the case that they would have needed to pitch in for food for a week, I am the only person in the group they would have had a problem doing so for. More and more over the years, it's been seeming like we're only still friends because it's been that way forever. That's my perspective, at least. Should I make it apparent how I feel about the whole thing and move on? Should I try to salvage something? I cannot see myself feeling welcomed ever again. What should I do? I would kick these people to the curb and never look back. There is no way I would personally put up with that type of disrespect. They've made their decision. They don't like you and they don't want you in their group. In fact, they don't like you so much that they coordinated behind your back to avoid you being a part of this group trip that you've been doing forever. I seriously just would not waste my time with them ever again. They are terrible people, and they weren't even man enough to tell you that they did not want you in the group anymore. They went behind your back like a scared little child and did all of this without you. And they did this expressly with the fact that they knew it would get back to you. They don't view you as an equal, they see you as someone who's underneath them, and to be honest, these people are not your friends. They are absolute pieces of garbage, and you definitely can find people who actually care. Because these people don't, plain and simple. And when you asked them why they did this, they could not come up with a real reason why they did not want you in their group anymore. They tried to say, oh, I don't want to pay for your groceries. They'll look for any kind of same old argument to try and rationalize why they won't like you, which in all honesty is just not even real. They turn their back on you, and you do not need that in your life. So hold your head high and move forward with your life. You do not need these people, and you will be so much better off without them. My girlfriend is overwhelmed by new changes in her life, and as a result, she wants to take a break from our relationship, and I'm honestly not sure what to do. My girlfriend and I have been dating for 8 months now. We have very similar views on the world, similar personalities, and we complement each other amazingly, and overall we love and accept one another. We often say that it's kind of strange that we met each other since we never expected to find someone with who we had such a great time and feel completely whole with. I moved to another city away for school, and she had to move back to her hometown for family issues. It was about 4 hours away by car from my university. As we are starting a long-distance relationship, she is also confronted with several challenges. The situation with her parents is not ideal, and she is looking for a job. She is a doctor, and so am I, and she has a bunch of licensing exams to do. All of this to say, she is going through a lot of stress at the same time. For the past 2 weeks, the relationship has been rocky, and last week she dropped the news that she wanted some space. Since I love her dearly, I agreed and I understood, especially after the long conversation that we had. We didn't speak for 5 days, and we had already planned that I would go visit her this weekend. When I saw her yesterday, she had a hard time vocalizing what she wanted to say, and knowing her like the back of my hand, I asked her if she wanted to break off our relationship. She started crying and said that it is hard for her right now since she has so many other things going on, and she feels like she cannot focus on herself and her work since she is overwhelmed. She said that she feels like the relationship is one-sided since I am putting a lot of effort into seeing her and supporting her while she is currently unavailable emotionally for me. Just as an FYI, I really understand and haven't been bothered by it since I know what she's going through in her situation right now, and I'm very compassionate towards everything. She feels like she is wasting my time and feels like it's unfair. So at this point, I tried to explain to her that I am a grown man and that I can make decisions for myself, and that I go to see her because I love her. But what is important is that she is happy, and she said that she is the happiest she can ever be when she is with me. But once I am not around, she feels anxious and is stressed about all the things she has to do. We still ended up being together for the past 2 days, and she was holding my hand and holding me close to her. We didn't sleep that night and spoke for hours about family and the future. But this morning, it felt like she was scared to see me go again, and I could see it in her eyes that she needs this break. I feel very powerless regarding this situation, all because I am so far away from her. I really love her, and I'm scared to lose her, but I feel like I have to give her the space that she needs and maybe rekindle our situation in like 1 or 2 months' time, once her situation becomes more stable, especially in the career aspect of things. The other side of me wants to fight for it in a selfish way. I am torn since she truly is the most amazing person I've ever met. What should I do? It sounds like you really care about your girlfriend, which is really good, and you guys obviously want to make this work, but the situation that she's in and all the hard things that she's currently trying to get through is making it impossible for you guys to be together. So I think it wouldn't be a bad idea to listen to your partner and do what she says in this moment. She clearly wants to take a break to try and get things figured out and then come back to the relationship when she's ready. She's going through a lot. She's got issues with her family and her career. That's a lot for anybody to take on. And while I totally understand you have that inclination that you want to fight for this and you want to make this work no matter what, even if it's long distance, I think you really should consider her perspective and say, okay, let's come back in 1 or 2 months and see where we're at. I've been in situations like that where family stress or a loved one who's on the verge of passing away or career problems are causing a lot of problems in my life. And being in a relationship with all these things going on can bring you down and can be a big stressor in your life. So it's understandable that she would want to take a break. So that's my opinion. I think taking a break and allowing her time to get her life together really would do good for her as well as you. But I think if anything, leave the ball in her court and let her know that she can always reach back out and keep things going. Because maybe this relationship will prove the test of time. But there's also a chance that this is probably the end of your relationship. So that's also something you need to consider. But whatever you decide to do, I hope it really does work out. And hopefully you guys are still able to have some kind of a relationship and keep each other close, even if that means right now or later down the line. My mom is making me feel bad about the honeymoon my fiance and I just booked. And I really don't know how to handle this situation or what to do. So my fiance and I are getting married next summer. We've been dating for a year and engaged for about 2 months. We agreed to a low-key honeymoon because I'm still in grad school and I don't have much time to take off in the first place. But once I graduate, we'll be taking a much longer trip internationally. We booked a honeymoon at an all-inclusive resort in Florida just a couple of days ago. It seemed really promising from the website and it had really good reviews. We could also get a discount for booking it this month, so we signed up and made the purchase. My fiance is solely paying for it because I have no money since I'm just a student. So I called my mom today and I updated her on what our plans were and where we were going for our honeymoon. I expected her to be excited, but instead she starts questioning why we would choose Florida and accusing my fiance of pressuring me to go somewhere cheaper when she knows for a fact he can afford more. As a side note, my fiance does make quite a lot of money, so it really is not an issue in this regard. She starts asking me if it was the place that I always imagined I would be going, and saying that I only get one honeymoon, so it should be good. My mom and dad went on a small Caribbean island for theirs. Also, my parents had well over a week to enjoy their honeymoon, whereas because of my schooling, I'll be lucky to get 1 week at all. I can't really talk to anyone about it, and I don't want to talk to my fiance about it because I don't want him to feel guilty about making this purchase and putting this money down for something that we need to question. I mean, we already made a payment on this. He has a very big heart, and I know that it will crush him if I talk to him about it, but it's eating me up inside. I don't know how to think about it, but is Florida really that bad of an option? Should I try to get my fiance to get us to go to a honeymoon somewhere else, all because my mom is complaining about it? What should I do? I think this is a really terrible thing that your mom has done. She's literally getting in your head to try and stop you from going to Florida, as if she has any say in what you can and can't do for your honeymoon. Fun fact, she is not going to be there. She's not going to be involved in your marriage. It's going to be you and your fiance. So if you guys want to go to Florida, then go to Florida. There's a lot of options there for fun things to do, and it is definitely not a lesser location to go and have some fun and be with your future husband after you get married. You're going to have a good time. I know there's all these terrible stories that come out about Florida man and all that stuff, but in all actuality, as someone who has lived there, it's not nearly as bad as you think, especially if you're going to be at a resort of some kind, enjoying your life in the sun. And it sounds like you two were excited about this until your mom chimed in with her ugly opinion. I just personally would not let her get inside your head and make you second guess something you've already paid for. So plan on going to Florida when you get married, and don't think twice about it, because your mom has no say in your marriage, and chances are you get there and you're probably going to have the time of your life. An entitled Karen attempts to steal my Nintendo Switch as well as all of my games, and then tries to get me arrested, claiming that I'm a thief. Things got so bad that the cops had to show up. Here's what happened. To preface this, I recently graduated from a university and landed myself a pretty well-paying job working as an analyst for a major banking company, and my first day is the week after next. A couple of months ago, I moved to a gated apartment complex in a wealthy suburb of DC and have been making use of their gym. On days that I work my upper body, I use a game called Fitness Boxing 2 with their in-gym punching bag. Now, my community frequently does apartment tours, and that includes their facilities, so I will see one of the employees walking around with people, and earlier today was no exception. There was a woman with her 8 or 9-year-old son walking with an employee. This kid immediately takes interest in the game I'm playing playing, and I offered to let him try it out. But his mom called him back, and I was nearly done anyway, so I put my Switch in its case and put it in the cubbies that people put their things in. Now, a few minutes later, I'm on one of the other pieces of equipment, and I see the kid walking out with his mom carrying my Nintendo Switch case. I immediately knew it was mine because I have a very brightly colored one. But even then, I go to double check if my Switch is gone, and lo and behold, it sure enough was gone. Now, everyone's been that annoying kid at some point, so I'm actually not particularly mad. I catch up to them and the tour guide and speak to the mom, telling her that her son walked out with my Nintendo Switch. I figured she would just be embarrassed and have him give it back to me, treating it like a lesson learned or something like that. But instead, she takes it from him and says, "No, that's his game. You must be mistaken." At this point, I was completely bewildered. My initial reaction was, this isn't funny, because I could not fathom how someone could be so quick to lie about something as expensive as this. Now I look at the tour guide, and I don't know her really, but we do see each other on a regular basis, as I'm personally really trying to be consistent with going to the gym. She knows it's mine, and tries to ask the woman if she's sure, and of course, this is when she gets angry, and says that if I keep harassing her and her family, she will call the police. On one hand, I'm like, good, call them, because I can readily prove it's mine, so that would be no problem. On the other hand, I'm a muscular man, and not just a muscular man, I'm also a black man, so having to deal with cops in this nature always stresses me out. And when you're getting in an argument with some hysterical crazy lady, you have to pick your words very, very carefully. So of course, she says she's gonna call the cops, yelling and screaming that a scary muscular man is harassing her and her son, and trying to steal his game. And like I said, this is a wealthy suburb, so a police officer is gonna be on the scene within minutes. I have to thank my lucky stars that the cop was smart enough to not immediately take sides, and simply walked up to ask what was going on. So of course, I let her go first, with her once again saying that I've been following her and her son, and that I'm trying to grab his game. And after the cops look me up and down, I put on my calmest, most domicile voice to say, that is not her son's Switch, it is mine. He took it from my gym cubby, and if you have her open the case and turn it on, I will prove that it's mine instantly, because my Switch has a lock on it. And this is when the tour lady also says that she's pretty sure it's mine. For those of you who don't know, you can jerry-rig a lock code onto a Nintendo Switch using the parental controls app. That way, you can ensure that you have to put a PIN code in just to use the Switch. The entitled Karen, of course, doesn't want to do that, saying that I've caused her all this trouble, but luckily the cop wanted to hear me out. So this woman takes the Switch out of the case and turns it on. Firstly, I point to the profile at the top, which has a character depiction that looks like me. This woman manages to turn on a dime and say that they just recently bought it from a friend, and that friend just happened to look exactly like me. So I responded with, "Did that friend give you the parental controls password?" She says, "That's mine. I'm the parent." So I look at her smugly and say, "So turn it on." She responds and says, "I don't have to show you anything." She immediately turns it off again and tries to put it away. But luckily, once again, this cop doubles down and says, "No, you have to show that it really is yours." She turns it on and pauses, because she has absolutely no idea how it works. So I kindly say that you have to press the button at the top of the screen in order for the pin to come up. Once she does that, I get my phone out and I get ready. So she tries to put in a random combination, and of course, it doesn't work. And the interesting thing about the Switch parental controls is that if you put in the wrong one, it sends a notification to the app. So within 30 seconds, I was showing this cop that I was getting notifications that the PIN was inputted incorrectly. After being proven wrong, finally, this woman starts apologizing, saying it was an honest mistake, and hands me back my Switch and the case, and has the audacity to ask the tour lady to continue the tour. The cop chimes in and says that it would be best that she leaves the premises, and says that he's going to escort her to the car. This is when she gets mad at the complex and says that she's never giving them her business. All this while she gets walked out the door. And that's honestly what ticks me off. There is no happy ending. I have every game I've ever bought in 4 years on that Switch in this case. So between all of my games as well as the Switch, this entitled Karen stealing this from me would have been absolutely tragic. If the cop had immediately been against me, I probably would be in jail right now. I would have lost my job that I haven't even started yet, as well as all the work I put in for the past years just to get where I'm at. All for something that they would have quickly found out that they can't even use in the first place. And all she got was a nice stroll to her vehicle. I guess guess that's better than potentially having her and her stupid gremlin child as a neighbor. This is a crazy story. I can't believe someone would be so willing to lie about something that they definitely don't own. Like, I see these types of stories so often that it really leads me to believe that if people have the chance, they really will do something crazy dishonest just for some piece of tech or some property that they really want. Like, the dishonesty in this story is just unbelievable. I can't imagine being in that situation and having some crazy lady trying to take your property. And this guy has it right. Imagine trying to have her as a neighbor. Do you know how miserable that would be? That would be horrific. And worst of all, this guy's correct. He could have lost everything if this cop wasn't on his side and didn't want to do the right thing. It really does suck that there wasn't anything further this original poster could do to maybe even charge this lady with trying to steal his property, but at the bare minimum, at least he got his Nintendo Switch back, as well as all of those games. The original poster goes on to say that everything, including his games and the Switch, costs him well over $1,000. And that is so much money to lose all of the sudden to some crazy Karen trying to take your stuff. So good for him for getting all of his stuff back, as well as setting up parental controls so that he needs a password just to get in. That is really smart, and I'm going to start doing that myself. So hopefully no more Karens come into his apartment complex, and he's able to work out and enjoy his Nintendo Switch in peace. This next one came from the Am I the Jerk podcast subreddit. Check the links in the description if you'd like to submit your own story. Am I the jerk for kicking my sister and her friends out of my house after they ruined my kitchen and made a complete mess? I live with my younger sister and my mom in a nice apartment that has 2 floors. My mom works a part-time job as a cleaner at a school. When it comes to friends, my mom doesn't want them in our apartment while she's gone. I follow that rule very well because all my friends live very far from me. However, my younger sister constantly breaks that rule. Most of the time, when my mom is gone, my sister sneaks her friends into our house, and it really infuriates me because I like to clean up the house while she's gone, because that way it's quiet. However, she brings her friends into my house, specifically while I'm cooking. Most of the time when I cook with oil because we have a ton of meat in our house. Every time they come in while I'm cooking, they try and act like Gordon Ramsay and tell me how to cook my food, what seasonings to use, and other stuff like that. One time, they actually told me to use sage for chicken, and in my opinion, that's a bad idea. I tell them to get out of my house because I'm cooking with oil, and I don't want their parents to yell at me if they get splattered with the hot oil and burn themselves. Well, one day, when I'm preparing chicken sandwiches for my family, my sister brings her friends in the house, and oh boy, was it annoying. They kept coming in my house to try and make TikTok videos, and as a result, they took a bunch of our breakfast sausages out of my freezer and deep fried them. They went into my fridge and kept grabbing bottles of Pepsi without even asking me or my sister. They just grabbed them and went with it. It was absolute chaos. And before my mom had left, the kitchen was clean as a whistle. But once my sister's friends came into the picture, they made that kitchen a complete wreck. At that point, I was just about to lose it. I was so mad that I had to stop myself from grabbing a rubber spatula and starting to hit people. They were making a mess out of my house and violating the privacy of my own family. They kept running in and out of the house, and then they tried to tell me how to cook, telling me that the chicken I pulled out for the sandwiches wasn't done all the way, even though it was the right internal temperature, and I knew what I was doing. At this point, I completely lost it. I yelled at them to get out of my house, and when they refused, I had to personally carry them out of the house myself. So I kick them out and I lock the door so that they could not come back in. And because of that, my sister went in on me. I thought nothing of it and just continued cooking. What I didn't know, however, was that my sister unlocked the door and snuck my friends back in. And before you know it, chaos ensued yet again. I yelled at them to get out again and they refused. And at this point, I'm just ready to give up. But thankfully, my mom came home just in time. And as soon as she stepped into the house, my sister's friends dashed out of the house, and I explained to my mom what happened. And then my mom lit into my sister about breaking her one rule. Now, my sister and her friends are mad at me, and they're calling me a jerk for kicking them out and snitching to my mom. So this begs the question, am I the jerk for kicking them out after they disrespected my home and my mom's kitchen? I don't think you're the jerk at all. I probably would have done the same thing. Like, your mom literally set up one ground rule: don't bring your friends over. And I bet that's also because your place is probably really small. It's 2 stories, yes, but it's just an apartment. It doesn't have that much space to begin with. Like, if you want to be idiots with your friends, go do that somewhere else. Not in my one place where I have to get stuff done. Like, that's unacceptable. And if that's not bad enough, where they're just gonna be loud and obnoxious in your own home, they also start making a mess out of your kitchen and wasting your food. I would have lost my mind if someone did that. I spend my hard-earned money on my groceries. There's no way someone's gonna take my food and disrespect my belongings like that. Absolutely not. So no, you are not the jerk. These people absolutely had it coming, and no matter what they say, they're definitely in the wrong in this situation. There's no excuse for that, and honestly, I would have done the same thing. My boyfriend keeps receiving text messages from other girls all day, every day, and I honestly don't know what to do about it. My boyfriend recently won a prize within the sport that he practices. I'm not going to say which sport it is just to respect his privacy, but this prize is a big deal in his realm, and I'm so very proud of him. The issue with this is that some fans follow along with it. Usually it's just younger people who have trained for a while or who look up to him for winning. They will message him on Instagram and other platforms, giving their congratulations, asking for advice, or sending pictures that they have taken with him. This is all so cute and wonderful, and I love that he is getting recognition for his work. But there is one problem. There is this one girl who I think is taking it a bit too far. They met at the Playouts after party, and at first it was rather innocent. She texted him a picture that she took with him after the tournament, but now she is texting him all the time to say good morning and to ask what he is doing. She will literally reply in 3 seconds if he texts her back after hours. She will send even more text messages with just random information about her day and what she is up to when he leaves her on read or doesn't reply. She knows he has a girlfriend. He has even sent pictures of us to her to try and just shoot her down when she would ask what he is doing. She has been asking about advice on her own training and trying to learn from him, and that is honestly all fine. But then she will text him about how she wants to go out and drink with friends. He tells her to go with friends from school, and she will be like, no, I mean like real friends. After the tournament, my boyfriend got sick, and so he texted some people about it, including this girl, all because a lot of people got sick afterwards. She replied that she hadn't gotten sick, but she was just dealing with period pains. You know, something totally out of context that you don't really share with other people, especially someone you don't really know, as if it's any of my boyfriend's business. She also texted him sometimes being like, I'm really mad, or I got a bad day, and my boyfriend might ask her what's wrong, and she will just play games and say stuff like, oh, you don't need to know everything. My boyfriend either doesn't reply or just says okay, and then 1 to 2 hours later, she is back again with some other kind of BS. Honestly, I just wish she would go away and that my boyfriend would block her, but he says that since they are on the same big team, he can't just be rude to her because now he has extra pressure to be a role model because of this prize. I kind of see what he means, and he has let me read all of their text messages, and he doesn't hold any secrets, but it's honestly making me incredibly mad. I don't know what to do about it, or even if I can do anything about it. What should I do? I think your boyfriend needs to just stop responding to this lady altogether. Ghost her completely. It doesn't personally matter if they're on the same team. This lady's overstepping a boundary and it's making you uncomfortable. He needs to not respond to her at all. None of this cute talk, none of these games, nothing. Because personally, nothing will get the message across quicker that you don't want to talk to someone than just straight up ghosting them through text message. And I get he's trying to be a good role model and try and be nice to this person, but this lady's being weird, and it's obviously making you uncomfortable, and your boyfriend's not helping by saying anything to her. So in my opinion, it's time to cut communications and to stop replying, because when he responds to her, he's only encouraging this kind of behavior, and honestly, at this rate, it'll never stop unless he pulls the cord. My boyfriend just moved across the entire country to live with me, and instead of being happy, all I can do is resent him for snoring, and I don't know what to do. My boyfriend and I have been in a long-distance relationship for the past 2 years, and it's been the best time of my life. I love him so much, and genuinely don't know what I would do without him. And just a few days ago, we finally took the step and moved in together, he moving across the country just to live with me. Before I started dating him, I made a personal rule never to date someone who snored. It's the one and only thing that disrupts my own sleep, and I knew I couldn't stand hearing that for the rest of my life. But I fell so in love, I felt like I could just overlook that part of him. We had visited in person several times before this, and I got to sleep with him several times, and the snoring was always a problem, but it felt manageable with a nose strip on him and earplugs on me. The problem is, after a couple of days of use, the earplugs really started to hurt my ears, and I've tried several different ones. He also snores louder than the earplugs can block, and at one point, I was wearing one of those sleep masks that plays music via Bluetooth directly into your ears over earplugs that I was also wearing, and I could still still hear him. The snoring doesn't seem to bother him at all. He gets wonderful night's sleep every night. But I'm losing my mind. I've gotten so little sleep in the past few days, and I'm sitting in the living room half awake right now with a pounding headache from trying to sleep next to him for the past several hours, and I can still hear him snoring in the bedroom. I'm so tired. I'm getting more irritable and snapping at him over small things, and it's over stupid stuff that my boyfriend doesn't deserve to be yelled at over. I've gone basically non-verbal over the past 2 days because I'm so exhausted and irritable from not sleeping, and I'm worried because my customer service job starts again today, and I know I won't have the energy for it. He already feels guilty about this, and to top it all off, recording his snoring to show him or kicking him out of the bed won't do anything. I feel awful that I'm starting to resent him for something he has no control over. We're both young, we don't have the spare money for a sleep study, especially after spending all the money to drive across the country. I'm not even sure if a sleep study will help. He doesn't seem willing to wear a CPAP machine or get corrective surgery to fix the snoring. That's even more expensive, and he's scared of surgery. Losing weight might help, but that is a very long process. It won't help me when I need it right now. At this point, falling asleep before him won't even help because his snoring will just wake me up afterwards anyways. This doesn't feel like something I should break up with him over, but I still love this man to death, and he just moved across the whole country for me. We're finally living together after all this time, and I should feel way more happy than I am, but I am so tired. I can't help but think about how much longer I'll be able to deal with this. Is this gonna be the rest of my life? They say snoring only gets worse when you get older, and I don't know what to do. Making him feel guilty about this won't do anything, and it will just put more strain on our relationship, which is otherwise perfect. Either way, I really feel like I'm gonna lose it if I don't get some long, uninterrupted sleep soon. What should I do? It sounds like you guys are really against going to see a doctor, but honestly, it sounds like you need to see a doctor. It really sounds like this is a medical issue, and honestly, a sleep study might do you some good. They might be able to get some kind of strategy that helps him in the long run with getting sleep and allowing him to sleep without snoring. Like, there really are solutions that he needs to take the steps to do, especially if you want this relationship to work. But I'm really sorry you're not getting a lot of sleep, and hopefully this gets sorted out soon, because ignoring the problem is definitely not going to do anything for you, and if anything, it's only going to get worse with time. My fiance's estranged family reached out to me and asked me to help them fix their relationship with my fiance, and I'm not sure what to do. My fiance and I have been together for almost 4 years now. He was in a previous marriage before we met that ended in divorce because his ex-wife had a long-term affair. During their marriage, my fiance was diagnosed with cancer and went through a very tough battle. During that time, his family found out that his wife was cheating on him all through a third party, but they didn't tell him because he was very sick. They basically hid the truth from him and let his ex-wife be around him. My fiance thankfully won his battle, and towards the middle of his recovery, his ex-wife came clean because she felt guilty. She told him that she wanted to come clean before his family convinced her to keep quiet for his sake. My fiance felt betrayed by both his wife and family, and when he got better, he divorced her and eventually moved away from the city he, his ex-wife, and his family lived in. He very rarely speaks to his family, maybe 2 to 3 times a year, and they tend to be very short and superficial conversations. His relationship with his family is very strained and practically non-existent. I've never met any of his family members for the entire time we've been together, and they haven't come to visit, and he hasn't gone to visit them. Today, I revived a message on social media from what seems to be his older sister. I have no idea how she found me, but she seems to know about how my fiance and I are engaged. Long story short, she asked if I could help reunite my fiance and his family. She talked about them maybe flying to our city and asked if I could somehow get my fiance to meet them. I haven't responded to her, and I don't know if I should. She explained why they didn't tell him about his cheating wife. According to her, they didn't want to bring any more suffering and pain, which I somehow get. I also very much get and respect how my fiance feels. Even before the whole cheating thing, my fiance said he's had a problem with his family in the past. It seems he's always had a difficult relationship with his family. Basically, I wanted to ask what you would do in this situation. Do I try to help them, or do I just ignore his sister's message? I think that sometimes in life, we might need others to encourage us into doing something we don't want to do, because it could ultimately benefit us further down the road. But at the same time, we shouldn't push or force people into doing something that they're not comfortable with. What should I do? This is a really rough situation because I can only imagine being leaving your fiance. They were literally lied to in one of the most vulnerable situations of their lives. Not only from their significant other who was actively cheating on them, but also from their family who could have told them and basically started this process sooner. Not to mention the fact that he was battling cancer. So I totally understand why they decided to cut them off. But I think whatever you do decide to do, you most definitely need to talk about this with your fiance first. I think it would be a terrible idea to get involved with his family and try and reunite him with them in any sort of way without his consent first. I would tell him straight up, hey, your sister contacted me. How would you like me to go about handling this? And then you take it from there, because I really think you going behind his back and doing this without his knowledge would be a terrible move. Like, he already doesn't trust his family to a certain extent. Why on earth would you want to make it so he doesn't trust you either? So talk to him first and figure out the next move, because he has a much better picture of how these people actually are. And the last thing you want to do is try and bring other people back into his life that are incredibly toxic and are only going to do him harm. An entitled homeless man refuses to leave my hotel lobby and threatens to sue me personally when I tell him that he can't sleep in our lobby and that he's got to go. Here's what happened. So as a night auditor at a hotel, we've all had our fair share of homeless people who try to stick around a little too long and make it all the more difficult when you have to track them down and ask them to leave. I'm incredibly sympathetic, and I understand that unfortunate situations can hit anyone, but I won't lose my job or risk a serious incident between a guest and not a guest by letting someone sleep or loiter somewhere that they're not allowed. Well, I arrived last night, and my second shift informs me that the older man that I had passed on my way in, who was sitting just to the right of our desk, had come in an hour earlier and was struggling to find a ride, or at least waiting for one. And much to my demise, they said that he could just sit there for a while as he waited, which is honestly just a rookie mistake. He was clearly old, looked a little worse for wear, and had to use a cane to walk. I know it's hard to turn away elderly in need, especially, but they had already told him at this point that he couldn't sit there all night, and that I would be asking him to leave at my discretion because we can't let him be here if he's not a guest. Apparently, that had been all well and good to him, and he had been very generous and understanding when she informed him this much. So I assume I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and let him sit down in the cool air for another hour or so. I'm in the South, and the heat and humidity here is suffocating, even in the middle of the night. Being homeless is difficult enough as it is, and I know sometimes just a quiet place to rest your feet can really help. Well, come midnight, I was getting ready to walk through the lobby, and just to make sure that everything was closed up. When I exit the office and look over at the man, he's passed out in the seat, snoring, and his shirt is rolled up halfway up to his chest, with his stomach just hanging out. I was going to tell him he had to get ready to leave anyway, but now I really have to. He's right by the desk and the front doors. Not a great look for any guest coming in to check in. So I wake him up, politely inform him that the lobby is no longer open to anyone and that I'll need him to leave right now. He was really confused at first, even asked me if the blinking red light at the ATM meant there was a message for him. So I told him if he was still waiting for that ride, which is really unlikely at this point, he could sit on the benches outside for a little while longer, but that was the best I could do right now. I should have asked him to leave altogether, but the guy really seemed like a tired old grandpa, and I'm weak to that. Thankfully, he was super cordial, and he understood and said that he would go. So I left him there, finished my walkthrough, and got to doing some billing I needed done. About 40 minutes later, I see movement at the desk on the cameras, and realize he hasn't left at all. Unfortunately, we just updated our camera system, so now the front desk one covers only where our agents stand, and he was sitting at a spot that was just out of sightline, unless he stuck his hand out or something, which is how I realized it was him. So I go out again, and he's sleeping. Now I'm a little frustrated, so I wake him up again, and I inform him that he has to leave, and that the second shift had already told him ahead of time that this would happen. I let him know he absolutely cannot just sleep in the lobby, and I had already been very patient with him as it is. Again, he's apologetic and assures he'll get going and even starts to gather up his things. I return to the back to give the man the decency of not staring him down as he hobbled outside, but I'm not hearing any movement some 10 minutes later, and lo and behold, I leave the office again and there he is still. But at least this time he's awake and aware of his surroundings. So at this point, I've had just about enough. I tell him that I am fully prepared to have non-emergency services come out to help him find a way to get wherever he needs to go. I remind him that he was told about this from the second shift shift and that I have given him 2 warnings already, and this was honestly going to be the last one. He absolutely needed to leave. Now, of course, he flips the switch. Now he wants the name of the hotel, corporate's name and number, the name of the managers, and my name so he can hand them over to an attorney. I couldn't help it. I asked him what on earth an attorney was going to do. He just kept repeating what he said, so I told him. And at that point, I just could not engage with him any longer because this was just so ridiculous. If he had a legitimate issue, then he can call the desk in the morning and get whatever information he needed. I told him I wasn't giving out my name now for safety reasons. He goes into saying that the manager last night, some guy, was really polite and okay with him and didn't bother him. So I chimed in and ruined his fun right there, and I let him know that our manager doesn't work night shifts. And I was the only one working last night and we had never interacted before. That shut him up and he finally started getting up to make a leave. But he stopped by the desk before he did and started asking for all the information all over again. I told him to look up the number and call in the morning if he had a legitimate complaint as per what I said before. Then he asked me to sell him a blanket and seemed so incredibly put out that I told him I absolutely was not doing that. And no, I could not donate any blankets to him. I started to tell him I could give him the address to a shelter or call non-emergency services to see if they can help him. But he started walking away and yelling over me, saying that I was unhelpful and that I was rude. At the end of all of this, all I can really do is laugh because seriously, you're going to take this to an attorney and say what? A hotel that I was not a guest at asked me to leave their lobby because I was sleeping there, and now I'm gonna sue? Yeah, good luck trying to get to corporate to complain about how their hotels didn't allow you to freely use their space. The entitlement and attitude when he couldn't get what he wanted is just mind-boggling. And honestly, at this point, after dealing with that, I just need a vacation. Don't you just love it when entitled people pull out the whole attorney card as if that's gonna prove anything in their case? Especially when it's some ridiculous situation like this. This guy was literally just sleeping in the lobby and refusing to leave. And I'm honestly surprised that the shift of workers before this original poster even allowed this guy to sit in the lobby in the first place. I mean, that's just a recipe for disaster. But the original poster handled this really well in my opinion, and they didn't crack under the pressure at all. I know if I was in that situation, I probably would have been a lot less patient, but they handled it like a pro and they got him out without any kind of massive confrontation. And hopefully this guy never comes back. I am very happily engaged to my fiance, but I think my best friend might have feelings for me, and they are becoming incredibly inappropriate, and I just don't know what to do. My fiance and I have been together for just over 4 years, and we're very happy. I honestly couldn't ask for a better relationship. There is so much trust, love, and happiness. We've bought a place together, and we're getting married in 3 months, so all is going really well. My best friend that I've known for about 20 years is going to be a bridesmaid at our wedding. Both my friend and I are bisexual, but nothing has ever happened between us ever. For me, she's always just been a friend. However, we are quite touchy-feely, but so is our entire friendship group. We've all known each other for so long, which has meant that we're very comfortable with each other. We hug, we talk, we're not afraid of being close to each other, pretty much never really had an issue. And honestly, I never thought anything of it, just because it's been so normal for all of us. My fiance has no problem with it, and understands that it's just the group dynamic. My best friend broke up with a very long-term partner a couple of years ago, and has been struggling quite a bit. I have always been a bit of a people pleaser, and I think I've probably allowed myself to become an emotional crutch for her. I've noticed she's gradually gotten much more touchy-feely with me. She will be very cuddly, tell me how much she loves me and stuff like that, and I have noticed that it's just got a bit more intense lately. When chatting with my partner, he said at a party recently, he actually felt a bit uncomfortable about how cuddly we were, as it seemed more than usual. I hate that I made him feel that way. I've also started feeling a bit uncomfortable about it, but I've always struggled with these situations and don't know how to tell her to stop without upsetting her. Then this last weekend, we had a night out when we went dancing, and she started having a panic attack. So I took her outside and tried to calm her down. Once she calmed down, she ended up telling me that my fiance didn't deserve me. I don't know if this was just an offhanded comment or if it came from a place of jealousy, but I do feel like it's not a cool thing to say, especially when we're just about to get married. So I'm really unsure about how to handle the situation. I don't know if I'm reading too much into it, but my gut is telling me there's something going on. How do I build those barriers without hurting her feelings? What should I do? I think some very clear boundaries are definitely in store. Your friend has got to understand that you're getting married, and whether or not she feels like this this is the right person for you, you feel like it's the right person for you, and you love him and you want to spend the rest of your life with him. So if you feel like she's crossing a line, then you need to make sure she understands that. And I also think it's going to be a big red flag that this person's going to be a bridesmaid at your wedding. I can't think of a more miserable situation than to have someone who actively says, no, he doesn't deserve you, than to have her as a bridesmaid. Obviously, I don't think that means you got to remove her as a bridesmaid, but if I was in your shoes, that is definitely something I would keep an eye out for. I think you need to tell her straight up, hey, I really appreciate that we've been close for all these years, but I feel like you're getting a little too physical at times, and it's making me uncomfortable. And that is honestly all you would really need to say from there. Setting boundaries is definitely scary, and it can really hurt some feelings if people aren't ready for it, but if they really are your friend, they'll accept how you feel, most likely apologize, and make the adjustments. It also sounds like your friend has a really toxic emotional dependency on you, and it's really going to be unhealthy for her to realize that you're not going to be there for her in the way that she would like you to be once you get married. So in my opinion, I would just be direct and concise while still trying to maintain a friendly demeanor. At the end of the day, she's a friend who's going through a hard time, but that does not mean that you need to sacrifice your own boundaries. My girlfriend is refusing to go to her job because she has depression, and I don't know what to do. As the title states, my girlfriend is refusing to go to work. Normally, this wouldn't be an issue. However, she's already skipped a day at work since this week without leaving any notice. The reason for this is due to her depression, and as a result, this has caused her to quit many of her jobs shortly after joining them. By her own words, it seems that the only thing she truly enjoys is laying in bed and sleeping as much as humanly possible. I want very desperately to be supportive of her. However, this whole situation puts me in a horrible crossroad. On one hand, I want to comfort her and be understanding of her depression. However, on the other hand, I don't want her to dig herself a hole she can't get out of. I know if she loses another job, her dad's probably going to come down on her like an axe, and I would feel horrible if this came back to bite her later in life. The truth is, this whole situation has me really confused as to what route I should take. Overall, I want the best for her, but I'm not sure how to go about doing it. This, of course, led me here of all places to post this online to try and see how I should process this. I don't want to be a jerk in this situation, and I don't want to leave my girlfriend on the side to figure things out on her own. I'm honestly not sure what to do. As someone who struggles with depression, honestly, the biggest motivator for me is realizing that I am not going to make rent if I don't go to this job. Yeah, the job sucks, and yeah, I really don't like it, but guess what? It's either that or I could just not work, get kicked out of my apartment, and not have any water, electricity, or any of the other things that I would need to function. And I completely understand where your girlfriend's coming from, where they're like, hey, I just want to sit in bed all day and sleep. That is a symptom of depression, so it's completely understandable, but you have to fight through it. It really did take me going to therapy to finally understand that I need to push myself and to get things going. I need to develop healthy habits and get on a good schedule to keep me from falling into a slump. And it's really unfortunate that she keeps quitting her job, because you said it best, you don't want this to hurt her later in life. But unfortunately, if she does keep quitting her job, that's really not going to look good for future employment. I mean, who would want to hire someone who's just going to quit 2 months in? If I was running a company or a business and I'm hiring somebody under the assumption that they're going to be reliable and they're going to show up for work, I would be pretty upset if they just suddenly quit after 2 months. Like, I'm going to be sinking a lot of money into you to try and get you up and running. If someone did that to me, I would definitely not give a good reference, that's for sure. So maybe helping your girlfriend see that, hey, if you don't get to work, you're not going to be able to make any kind of money, and you're not going to be able to pay for anything in your life. That might be enough of a motivation to get up and get going. And then with that motivation, you can then get to see a therapist or even a doctor, just to then point her in the right direction. Because this is treatable. You can find help for this, and it's not impossible. So best of luck to you if you do decide to stick around with this relationship, because this is so much different than someone who's just lazy or who doesn't want to work. This is a legitimate mental illness, and if she's willing, she really can find help for this. My husband is kind of mean to me, and I'm not sure what to do. My husband and I have been together for 12 years. We're in our 30s and we have 2 little kids. I am a stay-at-home mom, so I'm completely dependent on his money, as well as his health insurance and the house that we live in. I basically have nothing to my name. Add to that, I don't want to disrupt my kids' lives with a separation, so I honestly need advice on how to learn to live with a difficult person. The problem is that my husband is kind of mean. He's not abusive or aggressive, but just difficult. I don't know any other way to put it. For example, he is completely unpredictable. If I go to Starbucks for myself and grab him a coffee, he might be mad that I got him something that he didn't ask for. for, or if it's the wrong thing. But then if I don't get him anything, he's mad that I didn't get him anything. I get legitimate anxiety in stores, as well as when I'm shopping for stuff, worrying and feeling anxious that I didn't get the right thing. And to be clear, if it's wrong, he doesn't hit or yell, but he'll lecture or make it something dramatic, saying stuff like, "It's like you don't even know me, you never even listen." He also likes to make mean comments about things he considers failings, but he brings them up entirely unrelated to the conversation. For example, once, literally years ago, I made 3 rights instead of a dangerous left to get to a restaurant. Just the other day, he mentioned a new place he wants to try, but then added, "Oh, but you might have to take a left turn to get there, so I'll drive." It's like he's always trying to find ways to make fun of me or somehow get back at me for something that I've done years ago. I have tried to talk to him about this over many years, but he always says I'm sensitive and I blow things out of proportion. Sometimes I'm not sure if he's gaslighting me or if he's right, but I never had this problem before in any relationship, whether it's romantic, a friend, or family. I'm honestly pretty easygoing, and I don't hold grudges, when in fact, he's the one that holds grudges. How should I handle these mood swings? Or maybe should I just let these comments slide off of me? What should I do? I hate to break it to you, but this man is abusive. You're being gaslit hard to think that you not getting him coffee or not getting the right thing, even though he's never said what he wanted, is just crazy. He is also being very manipulative. Like your husband is literally treating you like his secretary rather than an equal partner, and that is not okay. He is treating you like garbage, and there's no reason for you to have to put up with that. If I was in your situation, I would be completely miserable, and I would probably have anxiety over the dumbest things imaginable. Just imagine getting your significant other a coffee, and then they freak out because you didn't get the right one, only to then get the right one next time, and then they freak out that you got them something at all. I mean, how crazy is that? Also, the fact that he's bringing up silly things that you did years later just to try and mock you over is more than enough evidence to prove that that man is incredibly abusive. No normal person would do that to somebody they're supposed to love. He is absolutely using and abusing you here, and I think you really need to see that. So I really hope you get the help that you need, because there are resources available to help you get out of that situation if you really do want to leave. Because in my opinion, this should not be a discussion of how do I put up with my husband's toxic behavior, but rather it should be a discussion of how do I get out of this toxic environment, because I think you'll be a lot happier off, both for your sake as well as your kids. My husband dented my car out of frustration because it's broken and told me I'm not allowed to complain about it. And now I don't know what to do about this. My husband gets irrationally upset whenever a vehicle breaks down. Today, he came home in a foul mood because the power steering is leaking on my car. I was trying to tell him about my day, and he told me, "I don't care what happened to you today," and told me to leave him alone. He later came into the house and accused me of losing one of his tools. When I showed him that it wasn't in my toolbox, he told me to look harder for it because apparently I used it last. I was adamant with him that he put it away, but I figured since I was already going through my tools anyway, I would go ahead and return something else that I borrowed. That is, until I heard smashing and banging. I didn't know what he was doing. When he came inside for dinner, he matter-of-factly told me, "There are some new dents in your car. I'm ready to set the stupid thing on fire. You are not to complain about the dents, and I never want to hear about it ever again." To try and lighten the mood, I told him, "Well, if you do set the car on fire, make sure you do it without my CD collection inside." I am really upset about this, because this isn't the first thing of mine he's damaged in anger. He dented the ever-living crap out of my truck and never fully fixed it. And I'm scared if I complain, he will just refuse to fix my car. I'm a stay-at-home mom that makes some money cleaning houses and pet sitting, so I can't afford a mechanic or to replace the car right now. And his behavior tonight, all over the car not working properly, is just absolutely unacceptable. He's been rude and snippy quite a bit lately, and he just told me that he's sorry that he's being so rude and snippy, so at least he's admitting it. But honestly, I don't know what to do, because I really want to speak out about how I don't appreciate how he's treated me, but at the same time, I don't want him to feel like I don't appreciate his efforts to fix my car, and how he's had to fix it a lot because it's a piece of garbage car that's been through 3 engines in 3 years, if you can believe it. How do I address this issue with him? I'm really scared that I'm gonna lose my temper when I see the dents in my car. I also don't want to have to lie to my family and friends about why the dents are there in the first place. What should I do? I'm very surprised that you're not reacting more strongly than this. This is seriously really bad. This is a fully grown 30-year-old man breaking your stuff all because the car won't work. That is not an emotionally mature person. And this is overall really violent behavior. And then he tries to boss you around saying, oh, you can't complain about this. Like, this is not how a fully functioning adult acts. This is legitimately insane. This man has such a small fuse over the dumbest things. And in my opinion, this is not a good living environment. And it's really double-sided. Like, he can lose his temper all the time and just start breaking things, but you're not allowed to call him out on it or complain about the dents in your car. This is your car. This is the thing that gets you from point A to point B. And he's just gonna dent it and say you can't complain about it? That is like a massive red flag to me. This is honestly a minor problem with the car. It's something that can get fixed. The problem is not with how you're going to address this issue. The problem is your husband has a short fuse and a very terrible anger management problem. Like, he freaked out like a toddler just because the car wouldn't work. That's not normal. You know what is normal? Calling a professional to have it fixed. So honestly, I would really be concerned about this type of behavior and try and find some kind of game plan to try and mitigate this issue, because this is unacceptable and you should not have to put up with this. My boyfriend's crazy father breaks into our house while we are asleep and begins to pound on our locked bedroom door, complaining about a tech issue that he was having. And I have honestly never been more upset. Here's what happened. There are two things to remember going into this. I am very hard of hearing, and I'm the survivor of a violent incident. These details will be important later. My boyfriend is 28 years old, and his family owns a coffee shop. But because his dad doesn't want to listen to anyone else, or even learn how to run a business properly, or even pay his son in the first place, my boyfriend is largely uninvolved, and has talked about being bought out. He is still the administrator on the point of sale system though, because his dad has no desire to actually learn how it works, or to go through the process to take over the account. Well, to set the scene, we got to bed really late, which normally wouldn't be an issue, as my boyfriend was scheduled for a late shift, and I'm currently taking time off of work to figure out some medical issues. My boyfriend turns off his phone volume when he goes to bed, and this is well known to everyone close to us. This is not a surprise. He has quite the reputation of being hard to get a hold of in the morning. I only hear my phone if it's right under my pillow and the volume and vibration is up. At 6:25 a.m., I start receiving the following text messages from my boyfriend's mom, which I did not hear because I am incredibly hard of hearing. At 6:25, we got the message that said, "Sorry to bother you. I need my son to call his father ASAP. His phone is off." We then got another text message at 7:35 in the morning stating that my boyfriend's father was coming to wake up my boyfriend unless he calls us. And this is when all hell breaks loose. Just before 8:30 in the morning, the dogs start barking as someone tried to open the locked bedroom door. I wake up panicked as whoever it is starts banging on the door. It then stops a few moments, then starts right back up again. No one has said anything at this point. Not me, not my boyfriend, not the intruder. I get up and go to the closet for the baseball bat and start kicking myself for thinking that we would not need some kind of firearm when my boyfriend had brought it up in the past. We open the bedroom door to find my boyfriend's father at the end of the hall. He then starts screaming and shouting about needing the code for the two-factor authentication for the register. I start screaming at my boyfriend's father, and my boyfriend, who is just as angry as I am, has me go back into the bedroom. I put my hearing aids in at this point, and my boyfriend's father claims to have been knocking on our front door, but neither dog heard them. My boyfriend gives him the code, tries to explain to him that coming into our house unannounced is a huge violation of trust and boundaries, but his father just yells about needing to get to the register and to get it working. My boyfriend kicks him out, and so he leaves. And between the two of us, we thought this was the end of it. But not even 2 minutes later, I receive another text from my boyfriend's mom. She says, "Please tell your son to send the new code. We still can't get in." Then we hear the clanging of the metal gate and more pounding on the front door. We go answer it, and guess what? It's my my boyfriend's father again, and he is now screaming about needing the new code while holding a copy of our house key in his hand. He clearly was going to let himself back into my house, and at this point, I lost it, and I just began yelling at him. I said, "You can't just let yourself into my house. What is wrong with you?" He then gave me more BS excuses about needing to get the register working, and I screamed, "My ability to be safe in my own home is more important than your shop." And this is what set him off, as he took particular offense to this statement. He said, "So you see me as a threat? Am I a threat to you?" I tried explaining to him that I've had my home broken into before, but he just simply wasn't listening. He just kept saying, "I didn't do it, that wasn't me," over and over again, then continues to yell about his stupid coffee shop. I demand the emergency key back, and after yelling a bit more, he shoves it at me. My boyfriend has had enough and yells at me to go back to the bedroom and that he will handle it. I do, because at this point, I'm on the edge of a panic attack. Through the closed bedroom door, I hear more yelling, and after a bit more, the door slams and he leaves. My boyfriend then calls his mom, saying that his father needed to apologize and that this behavior wasn't acceptable. She asked him, what does he have to apologize for? And clearly not being in the loop, my boyfriend informs her of what is going on, and she is just absolutely mortified. My boyfriend's mom then sends me the following text message. "I'm so sorry to have bothered you so much today, and I'm sorry that my husband made such a scene." But I have not responded yet. This man clearly doesn't understand boundaries and doesn't think he needs to be held accountable for anything. And he felt entitled to just barge into our house and demand his son fix a tech issue. And for the record, yes, I do in fact see him as a threat now. Both of my boyfriend's parents know about my severe PTSD, as well as my history, and we know he won't apologize because he genuinely doesn't see it as a problem. So now I honestly think it's time to set some serious boundaries and to invest in a security system. This is absolutely terrifying. I cannot imagine waking up in the middle of the night only to hear somebody banging on my bedroom door. Like, that would have been terrifying to me. That is such an invasion of privacy, it makes me sick to my stomach. The original poster has every right to be angry at these people. This is unacceptable behavior, I don't care who you are. And the fact that the owners of this coffee shop aren't taking the steps necessary to take care of every issue of their store is completely irresponsible. And if I was the boyfriend in this situation, I would have quit months ago. I would have said, you know what? I'm out. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going to sell my portion of this store and I'm going to go do something else. Because there is no excuse for these types of actions. If I was in their shoes, I would change my locks immediately and I would set up some kind of security system that ensures that I know exactly who's coming to and from my house. It's time to lock things down and to be ready for that type of situation as well. Because they got into your house no problem while you were asleep. And who's to say that they wouldn't try that again just because their system isn't working? So hopefully this situation gets figured out and hopefully your boyfriend's parents understands and respects your boundaries. Another girl asked my boyfriend on a vacation to Hawaii, and he said yes, and I have no idea how to stop this from happening. Okay, so my boyfriend and I used to live together, but it didn't work out, so we moved apart, but we're still together as a couple. I drive an hour 5 times a week just to see him. To be clear, he is still taking me out for dates as well as all kinds of stuff together, and I am on his lock screen for his phone. We are dating. He told me his roommate, who's a 24-year-old female, has a big fat crush on him and really likes him. He said she keeps hitting on him despite him turning her down and that she is jealous of me. And overall, I honestly think that this is just her ploy to try and steal my boyfriend from me, since he's told me he's never asked her out or even hung out with her outside of the house. The roommate has been out of college for a couple of years and works online all day, so she has absolutely no friends. However, apparently she has some money saved up, and she invited my boyfriend to go to Hawaii and Iceland and to stay in a hotel alone with her. My boyfriend told me that since she is a young female, she does not feel safe traveling abroad alone. By the way, she's 24 years old. My boyfriend is trying to rationalize these trips away, saying that he is just going to use her for 2 weeks and enjoy this trip himself. I am completely beside myself and I don't know what to do. How can I stop this homewrecker from taking my boyfriend on an overseas vacation for 2 weeks. What should I do? I mean, if the terminology red flag had a physical representation that you could latch onto, someone taking a 2-week vacation to go to Hawaii and then Iceland definitely fits the bill. Those two spots are quite literally on opposite sides of the globe. What on earth is going on here? I gotta be honest, the fact that he's willing to go with her is not a good look. And to me, this screams red flag and super sketchy. I think any reasonable boyfriend would have probably turned this down and been like, no, I'm not going to Iceland and Hawaii with you. Are you crazy? But the fact that he's willing to go and the fact that she's already a female roommate of his is like 2 big red flags right there. How on earth is he comfortable doing this and going for 2 weeks away from you and still call you his girlfriend? This is crazy sketchy behavior. And to top it all off, for some reason, she's going to be paying for absolutely everything to do with this trip. Really? You're going to pay for the hotel, the flight, everything? That's insane to me. There's not going to be separate rooms. There's not going to be separate itinerary. Literally, they're traveling and sleeping in the same room. And that is just a recipe for disaster. Even my closest female friends, I would not do that unless I brought my girlfriend along with me. That's just super sketchy. It screams red flag in my opinion, and I would not take that for a second. Personally speaking, that is a deal breaker. If my girlfriend decided, hey, I'm gonna go with my male roommate on a vacation for 2 weeks, I would be incredibly suspicious if I heard that come out of her mouth, because that's just a ridiculous statement. So I think you need to have a very honest conversation with your boyfriend and let him know that this is incredibly uncomfortable for you and that you two can plan something together as a couple. Because going overseas with your female roommate who's paying for everything for 2 weeks, especially when this female roommate has a massive crush on him, is literally a recipe for disaster, and in my opinion is something you should avoid at all costs if you hope to hold on to any kind of relationship with your boyfriend. But leave a comment down below. What would you do if you were in this situation? Let us know down below. I had a messy breakup with my ex-boyfriend, and I'm still dealing with the backlash and all the pain that came along with it. The title says it all. Prior to breaking up, we had a huge fight about how he acted this past few months. He lost intimacy, he completely changed, and I've been asking him over and over again if he's seeing someone else, or is it because I got fat and had so many stretch marks due to my pregnancy, which was miscarried last year. I felt ugly. I was always worried and became very insecure. He always said, I don't know, and that he needs some help, but never actually went to therapy. There will be times that I would lash out because he wouldn't talk to me about any of his issues, and it would only cause fights. My mental health took a toll on me when he had problems at work, which involves the money that he lost, and I had to talk to his boss about it and sign an agreement. I supported him in any way I could because I loved him, even though he was always broke and doesn't have any savings. So I had to pay for everything because I wanted to help. After our last fight, he asked for some space. He said he was exhausted with everything and that he misses his freedom and that I became a liability. He also mentioned that he's tired of compromising things for me. I kept sending him letters through email, apologizing if there's any way I've become manipulative. Every day I would ask him about our relationship status, and he would lash out on me and wouldn't clarify things about us. He said that he couldn't give me any assurance if anything will return to normal and that he isn't pushing me away so I can still stay in our place that we're renting for the meantime. He wasn't always ready to talk about us, and it took a week already of me suffering from depression and anxiety. I just found out 4 days ago that while he's taking his space and boundaries break, he's already talking to someone else and planning to go on a date. I confronted him about this, and he pushed me on our bed, yelling that I was dumb and stupid of thinking that it was cheating when he already told me that it was over. Mind you, he never told me that explicitly. I was heartbroken and moved out that day. He asked me to get all my things and to never come back. I talked to the girl, and she said that my ex told her that we were broken up 2 to 3 weeks ago already, which is absolutely a lie. The girl is 22 years old, and I've just realized that he goes for young, vulnerable girls that he can manipulate and take advantage of. His first ex was 18 years old, and he was 26. His second was 19, and the third was 22. I was the oldest one. I'm still struggling, but I haven't cried, to be honest. Although I do feel that gut-wrenching feeling before bed every night. This is all such a mess, and I'm not sure what to do. It sounds like you're getting away from a terrible situation. And if there really is a silver lining here, at least you don't have to deal with this man ever again. I mean, he physically and emotionally was was very harmful to you, and you definitely do not need him in your life. And you said it best, he goes after girls who are young and vulnerable, so he can try to manipulate them. And that is not okay. I would personally, if I was in your shoes, make the steps necessary to distance myself from this guy completely. He is very manipulative, he's very hurtful, and he betrayed your trust. And it is not worth your mental energy or anything else involved to even begin to worry about this absolute jerk, because that's all this guy is. He absolutely is the jerk. And you can do so much better than this. So hopefully you're able to move on in peace, because I guarantee you this man is only going to hurt you if you go back to him. And I honestly believe you could do way better than this jerk. My coworker found out that I have feelings for her and asked me to minimize our contact together. But I still want to try and be friends with her, and I'm honestly not sure what to do. I'm a 26-year-old male, and I started having feelings for a coworker who's 20 years old. We have been friends, and to be honest, both the friendship and feelings have been developing kind of simultaneously over the past 5 to 6 months. But it was never my intention to act on those feelings. As a note, I'm in a 10-year-long relationship, and I have been married for 2 of those years. My wife is aware of this situation. Overall, ideas did pop in my head from time to time, and generally at times I did not know what I wanted, and I have been overall just very confused. Anyway, our friendship was mostly in the form of messaging through Messenger or Instagram, and we did meet for a hangout twice, once on a bicycle trip and once a walk through town, where we ended up in some cafe. And on that cafe visit, I had the impression that she was giving me signals. I'm not very good at that stuff, and I never have been good with dating or anything like that. So I tried to dismiss this impression on the account of her being very social as well as an open person, but it messed with my head nonetheless. About 2 weeks after that, we had a misunderstanding on our shared shift at work. We barely spoke to each other for the last 4 hours of that shift, and while at the end of it, we did talk a little about the situation. I still feel bad about the atmosphere between us, and on the next day, I messaged her wanting to get to the bottom of it and clear the air. But I was so emotional about the situation, I also wrote something to the extent of, "You don't realize how much you mean to me." Now, I know this was a bad idea, but I justified myself by thinking that it's about how much she meant to me as a friend. We exchanged a few more messages about the situation, but 2 days later, she confronted me with her suspicion that I might have feelings for her, and so I admitted that it was true. I did say that I was hoping we could still be friends, but she wasn't sure how that could work, and that she would be afraid that I'd start getting some ideas if she opened up to me about important topics like she used to. She said it's better, at least for now, if we reduce contact to a minimum. This really broke me. While I wasn't expecting that we'd carry on like nothing happened, I thought we could make it work if I just distance myself from her for a bit and don't bring up uncomfortable subjects. But it seemed like I'm losing my only friend. I'm not really good with people, and I really care about her way too much, it seems. My wife, seeing what this did to me, managed to get me a sick leave so I didn't have to go to work for the next 2 weeks. During this time, I visited a psychiatrist. This is something I've been meaning to do for a few years now, but it just never felt too urgent to actually do it until now. And I'm about to start psychotherapy as well. So since then, I haven't been texting that girl at all. But I will have to go back to work soon. And even though from what I remember, we don't have any mutual shifts coming up, there may be some overlap where we work together for maybe an hour or so. And there's always a chance that we'll run into each other while one of us is leaving work and the other is going to it. And generally, I don't know what to do. I'd like to get back in touch with her, but I don't know if enough time has passed for her to process this that I could try sending some messages. Or should I just wait and hope she'll write first? And then what do we do if we do run into each other? Last time we did, she didn't even say hi or anything to me. Should I try to initiate some conversation about the situation? Or should I just act normal, not like before, but like a regular colleague? Also, her birthday is coming up in around 2 weeks. If nothing happens before then, would it be okay to just send her a happy birthday message? Also, I think she has either restricted me or hid her status on Messenger, as I haven't seen her online for the past 3 or so days. She is still active on Instagram though, but I find it weird that she would do that almost 2 weeks after the situation, when I didn't do anything to disrespect her wish of minimizing contact. What should I do? I think the original poster does not realize that, yeah, they're the jerk in this situation because they were having an emotional affair with this lady. And you know what? This lady caught on and said, whoa, wait a second, this is wrong, and basically told you, hey, get lost. She said it in a very nice way of like, oh, let's go to minimum contact. But that is coded wording to say she does not want to talk to you anymore. And the fact that this is happening all while you're married and your wife just has to sit around and deal with it is absolutely atrocious. What should you do in this situation? I think you really need to make sure your wife doesn't divorce you, because that's what this is leading to. And also, it's kind of creepy that you think that she's obligated to reciprocate how you feel about her. Like, she clearly does not like you in that way. And it sounds like she does not want anything to do with you. She probably just wanted a friend and then you said, oh, whoops, I like you. In her mind, maybe, and I'm making assumptions here, she thought, okay, this guy's married. There's no way he's gonna hit on me. Only to then find out that you have a crush on her. Like, that's so disrespectful and it's really weird. And I've gotta say, everything you're saying in this post really makes it sound like you are obsessed with this lady. And that is very concerning. I think you need to accept that this supposed friendship is over, and that if you continue to try and contact her and have any kind of communication with her, you're making her feel very uncomfortable. She clearly doesn't want you around anymore, and you need to leave her alone and respect her wishes. I can also say that if you keep up this constant communication, and if you keep going after this lady, she's gonna report you to HR and you could lose your job. So you can either leave her alone, work on yourself and your marriage, or you can keep pursuing her, lose your job and your wife. I mean, the choice really is yours, but I would personally take that first option if I was in your shoes. So in my opinion, if you value your marriage and your job, I would stay away from this weird crush you have on the 20-year-old. You're already married, and I think you need to be loyal to that marriage. My entitled mother demands that I hand over all my money that I just earned, totaling to about $5,000, claiming that money as my rent and meals. And I simply don't know what to do. So I have been working over the summer to earn some cash for school next year, and I made about $5,000 in total after taxes. And I was so excited to start my new school year. Then, 1 week before school started, my entitled mother comes over to me and asks me if I can give her all of my money, all $5,000. Now, for some context, I did owe my mom some money, and I had every intention of paying her back. Out of the $5,000, I spent about $1,200 on a new computer, and so while it was sad to see half of my check basically gone nearly, I knew the consequences. But I did not owe her thousands of dollars. At most, I owed her about $1,400. So I still had a lot of money left over that was meant for me. But my mom came to me and said, I need the rest of the money too. When I objected and said, wait, why is that? She said, you need to learn the importance of saving money. That's when I asked her, why do you need the rest of my money? And what she said next really blew my mind, because she said, well, because it won't be safe with you having access to so much money. It's also good to note and to keep in mind that for the past few years, breakfast and lunch was free at school due to COVID. But now, since that's over, we will have to pay for our lunches. So I really do need this money for school. Another note is that my dad makes enough money for us to not qualify for free lunch or reduced lunch. And my entitled mother only goes shopping once every 2 weeks, and she mostly just buys snacks or dinner items. So unless I know how to make tacos, I mostly end up eating snacks as my lunch, like Cheetos or Oreos, which is super unsatisfying. So I got mad at her for wanting to take all of my cash, and she just says, see this as payment for rent, as well as the meals that I serve you. When she said this, I got so mad, since I knew exactly what that money was gonna go towards, and she was just gonna use that money to pay off a debt she owed towards my uncle. My uncle in the past loaned them a ton of money to help them get the newest model truck that they wanted. I am still so mad as I type this out, as I'm supposed to go to the bank today to withdraw all my money and to pay them back. Also, as another note, I have a wisdom teeth surgery coming up soon, and my entitled mom made it clear that I would pay for it myself, which would cost around $1,500 for surgery. She also wants me to buy her a beautiful gift for her birthday coming up very soon. But I guess that's life, isn't it? You barely get to enjoy your summer of hanging out with friends, going to the pool, or even sleeping in, and instead have to work your butt off just to have your entitled mother go ahead and waste it all. That really sucks because your mom is being super entitled. She thinks that your paycheck is actually in reality her paycheck, but it's not. You worked hard for it and now you gotta give it up to her. And also, don't your parents have insurance? Sometimes this whole wisdom teeth surgery can't get covered by insurance, or there's at least some kind of copay that can help out with it. So for her to claim that it costs $1,500 for that just sounds a little pricey for me. It sucks that you have to lose your money because of this lady, but hopefully you're able to keep some of that money and you don't have to give all of it up, because that would be truly tragic to lose all that money you worked so hard for over the summer, all because your entitled mother just wants it for herself. My girlfriend has a crush on my friend, and it's making me incredibly uncomfortable, and I just don't know what to do. My girlfriend is amazing, no doubt about that. She loves me, and we have been in a relationship for almost a year now, and it has been nothing but perfect. We initially took it slow. I was seeing her for almost 2 whole years before we decided to call what we had a relationship. What I'm trying to say is that this relationship means a lot to the both of us. I don't like to waste my time or anyone else's when it comes to committing to someone else. Personally, I don't do relationships, so it is a huge deal for me to get into one. I am madly in love with her. However, there is something that keeps bothering me. She has this habit of checking men out even when I'm around. I've caught her in the act a couple of times. It's not really a big deal for me because I know she's never going to act on it, but I find it disrespectful to do that around your partner. I let her know how I felt, and she took it well and let her perspective of things be known as well. It was smooth sailing after that. However, lately I've been hanging out with some of my friends who she has not met yet. We go out to parties and have get-togethers ever so often. From these bunch of guys, there is one person who's recently had a breakup from a very long relationship. He is on a journey of self-improvement and self-discovery, which I've noticed occurs when someone goes through a rough patch. I am happy for my buddy because he deserves it. He's starting a new venture soon, is in the best shape of his life, and I can see how positive he's become. However, I can't help but feel that my girl is a little infatuated over him. She's laughing a little harder than she usually does when he's talking about something, and she's kind of checking him out ever so slightly, and she's complimenting his physique in a very different way. Not in a suggestive way, if you know what I mean, but almost as if she's kind of amazed by it, or something like that, but doesn't want to say it out loud. It bothers me because that's a good friend of mine right there, and that's my girl who might like him. I get the aspect of a confident, focused person being very attractive, but the way she's acting towards him is just really inappropriate, and I'm not okay with it. I don't want to make things awkward, so I haven't spoken about it to her. I think I may appear insecure about it if I do. However, I don't want to give her that impression or come off as a possessive boyfriend. I want to be a good man for her because she is a good woman to me, but I've been conflicted about it, and it keeps intruding my mind, and I fear it may reflect in a different way and may come off as resentment if I do approach her about it. What should I do? I really think in this situation, it wouldn't hurt to go to your girlfriend and express your concerns. There are a lot of hypotheticals that could possibly cross your mind as to how she would react in this situation. She could very well be offended, she could think you're crazy, etc. But I don't think you're benefiting yourself in any way, shape, or form by keeping this bottled up and not talking to her about it. I genuinely think you're overthinking it. I think if your girlfriend is as loving and caring as you say she is, then she will be understanding about your own concerns and how you feel that she's flirting with this other guy who's your friend. And maybe if you talk to her about it, she can see your perspective and say, okay, I'll pump the brakes a little bit. It really could be as easy as that. And for all intents and purposes, there's a very good chance that she's just trying to be nice to this guy. I mean, you said it yourself. Your friend is going through a hard time. He's going through a process of self-discovery, and he's trying to be in the best shape he possibly can. So it's understandable that people would be extra sweet to him to try and encourage him and buoy him up. And there's a good chance, in my opinion, that your girlfriend's doing just that. And I don't think there's any meaning behind that. Obviously, she still loves you and you love her, so I don't think there's any danger to your relationship. So that's what I would do if I was in your situation. I would talk to your girlfriend, because I think this can all easily be explained, and I think you'll realize pretty quickly that she is absolutely still loyal to you. My boyfriend cheated on me while I was overseas, and now I feel like a complete idiot, and I'm not sure if I deserved it or not. So I met my boyfriend on Hinge just shy of 2 years ago now. I wasn't that into him at first, but when we got to know each other in non-dating situations, we had this undeniable chemistry. My friends who met him didn't like him off the bat and warned me about him, but I felt like they didn't really know him, so I ignored their warnings. We started properly dating and then unfortunately established that he didn't want kids, but I did. And at that point, we tried to end it right there. But that is when the cycle began. We would repeatedly break up and get back together for a variety of reasons. If it wasn't the kids thing, it was me getting hurt that he seemed to give me a false hope of a future by taking me to his family events and telling me how he loved me and loved spending all of his spare time with me, all the while with moments where he would disappear on benders, and I would repeatedly tell him that I hated him when he did that, but he would say sorry and then do it all over again about a month later. Every time I would be brave and end things, he would pull me back emotionally one way or another. Things seemed to be in a really nice place over the past 8 months as he was very stable, taking me to family and friend events and providing me the loving and stable relationship I had dreamed of. That is, until he went to go and visit his best mate in London. I was a bit nervous about the trip given our weird relationship, but since he had never slept with anyone else this entire time, or even tried to, I figured things wouldn't change. However, I had a really bad feeling when he was just about to come home, and I didn't hear from him for 2 days. I picked him up from the airport and asked him point blank if he slept with anyone else, and he said outright yes. He said he wasn't thinking and he had a really bad night where his friend was caught with some kind of illegal substance. So the friend was taken to jail and he was crying over it, and as a result, he hooked up with a friend. I honestly feel so sick to my core, but I also feel like such a fool as I've always been so loyal to him and given him girlfriend treatment to someone who has essentially led me on. I asked him how he thought I would react, and he said he wasn't thinking at all. I asked if he even felt bad for a second, and he said he did on the plane ride home, and then very guilty when he saw me. He then went off on this giant tirade, telling me that he was sorry and that he never meant to hurt me and feels awful about all of this. He then, as a result of this, started sucking up to me and started doing everything he could to make it seem like he still cared. But I'm honestly just so disappointed in myself for repeatedly exposing myself to an unstable situation. I have very bad abandonment issues that I'm trying to work on in therapy, but I can't stop being angry at myself for putting myself in such an unstable situation that only ever makes things worse. I'm so terrified of this and abandonment that I just don't know what to do. And to top it all off, the dating scene in Sydney where I live right now is absolutely horrid, and I'm just so scared of being alone again. I know I sound pathetic, but I just don't know how to stop myself for falling for these kinds of situations with these very troubled men. What should I do? I really have to agree with the original poster here. They kept letting this terrible person back into their life, and then eventually they cheated on them. And that's just absolutely horrible. I think you already know this, but you could do a lot better than this scumbag. He flew overseas and cheated on you. His way of coping was cheating, not anything else when his friend went to jail. And that is unacceptable. So honestly, you can do so much better than this, and you deserve so much better than this. This guy is a piece of garbage, and you will find somebody who actually cares about you and who wants to be loyal to you and only you. My family came to visit my home with very short notice, took over my house, and blocked me in my driveway. And I'm really not sure what to do about this. I'm from a family that has very few boundaries, especially for women. I moved 1,800 miles away across the country, but I live about half an hour away from my grandma and my sister. Since moving here 2 years ago, my family has never come to visit me ever. They have, however, come to see my grandma or do things with her. And since grandma and aunt are hoarders and don't like having to clear their house out, they will just stay at my house in my guest bedroom. They will then borrow my car and drive 50 miles round trip every day to visit her. To be fair, I live in a big but weirdly laid out house with 3 bedrooms. One of those rooms is my office, and I work in a mostly remote and travel role. So I'm either here at home working, or I go on days-long business trips. The basement also holds a sofa in the TV room that is a second sleeping space, but blocks the path to the laundry room, downstairs bathroom, or the garage, where the baby chicks are being raised in a tub right now and need to be fed and watered. My mom announced about a week ago she and my 28-year-old brother were suddenly coming to see my grandma this week and wanted to borrow my car and stay with me. The problem is, I was going to be out of town for a week, going through training for work. I honestly didn't really have a lot of time to deep clean my entire house, especially since my mom is a big clean freak, or to hire someone to help me. So, with all that in mind, they ended up showing showing up anyways last night. And they also randomly brought my sister, who has been in Hawaii for a week. Instead of using my car like they planned, they decided to rent a fully sized truck. My brother then took the rental car keys to bed with him. I got up today and couldn't go to spin class or to the grocery store before work because they blocked me in my own driveway. My mom also made a comment last night to my brother about how, quote, he should sleep up in the guest room because he doesn't like the smell of the basement. I live and work on Eastern time. They are all on Pacific time. So I have 3 sleeping people scattered around my home on both of my sofas at that, and I cannot utilize half my house. It's currently 9 a.m. and I honestly am not sure if I have a right to be upset about this or what I should do in general. What should I do? I think you absolutely have every right to be upset about this. Your family is literally just taking advantage of you because you live really close by your grandma, and that's just not fair. I think you need to stand up for yourself if you really want to get something done and say, hey, you need to move your truck. You can't sleep there. Guess what? There's now boundaries. Like, straight up start telling these people no. And if things are so bad like you're describing, then probably tell them, hey, you need to get a hotel. This is not working for me this week. It is very obvious that they do not respect any kind of boundaries, but I think in this situation specifically, it's probably best to start reminding them that yes, you do have boundaries. And if you're going to stay in my house while you visit, this is what's expected of you. And anything less than that, and you might want to go get a hotel. So if you do have this conversation, hopefully it all goes well. And hopefully you're able to get your house back, as well as even just get out of your driveway. Because from the sounds of it, your family is being super rude, and it might just be time for you to put your foot down and tell them exactly how it is. My partner told me that she wanted to have an open relationship a week before I proposed. Now, as a result, I'm questioning everything, and I'm seriously not sure what to do. Before I get into it, I've already spoken with my fiance about all of this, and we're at a slight standstill and have no idea what to do. I have no other friends, so I come to you, kind internet strangers, for some advice. My fiance and I have been together for close to 3 years. She has been the most fantastic partner I could have ever hoped for. I've never felt more compatible with a person. Every time something heavy has come up between the two of us, we've been able to communicate through it in a healthy way that makes sure both of us are heard and respected. With all that being said, when we began our relationship, she made sure to preface that she had been in a polyamorous relationship before, but had sworn them off due to rough falling outs in the past and was specifically looking for an exclusive relationship. She wanted to start a life and have kids, and I was looking for the same. Fast forward a couple of years, and I finally worked up the courage to propose. I truly feel she is the person I want to spend the rest of my life with. It took a little bit of time to build up the courage just to ask her, due to the overall fear I have of committing to this in general. For context, I was in a pretty emotionally abusive marriage, where my partner at the time ended up having a kid with someone else. But despite everything, I have gotten a ring and I was ready to do this thing. The night before we left on our trip that I was planning on popping the question, she told me that she had been feeling that she wanted to start exploring an open relationship between the two of us, allowing her to see other people, if you know what I mean. And when she told me that, it absolutely crushed me. Since then, it's been impossible to get this off of my mind, and I'm worried that I'm inadvertently ruining my relationship because I feel like it is such a bigger deal than she's making it out to be. Like I said, we've talked all of this over. I've given her my lengthy list of reasons why I just don't understand it. She assures me that it has nothing to do with me as a person, and she's very content and happy with our relationship. But the reason is that she feels she has more love to give and wants to be able to give it to others. She also says that she's looking to keep evolving as a person, and she can't do that unless she has experiences with other people and feels different things. But to my potentially irrationally insecure brain, all I'm hearing is that I'm not enough to her and that I'm going to be left behind and that I'm not providing enough for her, and she's feeling the need to go have those needs met by another person. There's also a spiteful side of me that's saying that we're still so early in our relationship that we still have so much growing to do ourselves. And what about that growth? Or is she just content with where we are at? And she's still interested in kids with me? Does that then just leave me as a glorified donor as well as childcare while she's off spending time with another partner? I have zero interest in looking at other people. I mean, I don't think I have the time or mental bandwidth to try and manage another romantic relationship. I can't imagine trying to juggle this with children, but I do still love her, and I want to get get through this with her. She tells me that she can't just box this up and put it away and just focus on us. But is that really fair of me to ask? To have her box up what's turned out to be a pretty important part of her just because I'm insecure. Yes, I'm able to set boundaries in the relationship, but how do you set boundaries or rules in a situation like this that doesn't breed some sort of resentment from either her or her potential partners, making me seem like a controlling prude that is just a little insecure boy that can't handle his girlfriend being with other men? How do I handle her sharing all of the intimate things that I thought were special and exclusive to me with someone else? What do I do with all these feelings that I'm having that doesn't result in me being spiteful towards her as well as her potential partners? What should I do? This sounds like this marriage is absolutely not going to work out. She has made it very clear that she's interested in somebody else and that she doesn't want to just be tied down with you. In my opinion, this is very deceitful and incredibly dishonest. You set up ground rules in the very beginning of this relationship. It's just you and her, but now she wants to go off and meet other people, all under the excuse of I want to grow and expand. But in my opinion, what she really wants to do is to keep you around while still getting with other men. And this is absolutely going to be all at the expense of you. If I was in your situation, I would not put up with this for a second. And I would definitely take a good hard look at my future plans with her. Because for me, that is not going to work. If I'm going to be marrying someone, that means that I'm dedicated to them and only them. And by the way, just because you don't want to have an open relationship doesn't mean you're insecure. That means you're a normally functioning human being. Because that is definitely an outlier when it comes to relationships. And I put relationships in massive quotation marks. You not wanting your partner who you thought was exclusively with you sleeping around with other men does not mean you're insecure. That means you're a good boyfriend and future husband. And if she can't see that and doesn't want that, then I really think that's your answer. You've made it very clear that this is not something you're into, but it sounds like she does want it. So how you handle this is really up to you. So I wish you the best in figuring this one out. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist at the top of the description. And if you like Am I the Jerk, make sure to subscribe to Am I the Genius. Everything will be linked down below in the description.